Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. This week, I'm only joined by Dan, as Matt is out on assignment, we'll say. So it's just you and I for this one. But we have
a lot to do anyway, so I think
we got a lot to
like.
Okay. That's the thing is like we're down one person, but I'd argue we have more shit to talk about than normal. Because a lot of stuff came out at Gamescom.
Gamescom stuff, a lot of just kind of other random stories, some releases,
exactly,
some other stuff like that. So,
but we'll kick off as we always do with things that we have been playing. I will lead into one of the bigger things at the end because you and I played it together.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing I'll talk about is the hot title of the week that everybody's talking about that has set the world on, like literally the world on fire.
The play numbers for this game are
insane,
crazy.
It hit 3 million people.
For a new IP, it is wild.
And has sold 10 million copies worldwide, and that is Black Myth Wukong. I bought it on the PlayStation. I almost was going to buy it on PC, but I felt like I would have a better time with the PlayStation controller, and I'm not hooking up my DualSense to the PC. So I bought it on PlayStation. I've only played I've had some personal stuff happen this week, and I have not had a lot of time to play games this week. Because of that, but I've played a very little amount of it. It's good. The first thing I'll say is I see a lot of people that compare it to Dark Souls. It's more Ninja Gaiden is what I would compare it to.
That's kind of the feel I got from watching it too, was that it's, if anything, it's a Souls light, not a Souls like.
It has the element of like a Souls game where like you can defeat enemies in an area, go back to the bonfire. Or in this case, it's like a little ceremony thing that you pluck your hair and put in. And that's where you'll get resurrected if you die. But if you rest, the enemies get resurrected. And you can keep fighting them, earning experience to level up and stuff. And you definitely have to because it's not an easy game. But like bigger bosses and stuff that block areas, like when you kill the boss, they don't get resurrected. They don't come back.
Okay.
So if it's like an area boss, you kill the boss, that's over. So the game looks incredible visually. I mean, it did when they announced it, like 3-4 years ago. The only thing that took me out of it, like I've watched virtually nothing on this game. Like I saw originally when it came out, I was like, yeah, the game looks cool. I don't know if it's for me. And then when it blew up this week, I was like, it's probably something I'm going to have to look at. And so I ended up getting it. And then I've watched nobody playing it, nothing like that. At least I'm playing with the English voice acting. The voice of the Monkey Man, not great.
Oh boy.
Like it takes you out of it. He has a very high pitched voice that like for me doesn't fit the badassness of the character, I guess is the easiest way to describe it. Yeah. So cause like the beginning of the game, he's flying around literally on a cloud like Goku. And it's like, okay, This is kind of weird. And he flies up to a bunch of, I assume they're like Chinese guy, because the whole game is based on Chinese mythology. And then when he opens his mouth, he's like, I challenge you. Like, it's like that.
Boy.
And I'm like, oh, I was like, that's not what I at all expected this dude to sound like. But if you can take that part of it out, because he does not speak very often.
Okay.
So that's the other thing I'll say is like his speech so far has been pretty limited. It's everybody else around him talking. Everything else about it so far has been fantastic. So, but it's very much like if you're looking at this thinking it's a Souls game, think more of Ninja Gaiden. It still has that difficulty level. Like it's definitely challenging, but it's not. I don't think it's Dark Souls level challenging.
Yeah,
so,
and Ninja Gaiden was definitely one of the first
pretty hard
modern Xbox era games where it was just. The difficulty was crazy compared to stuff you'd played before.
Very, very challenging.
I remember you remember when they had that like demo out for that too. And even the demo was crazy because it wasn't even part of the game that you played. It was like they mashed a bunch of stuff together to make that demo. Yeah. And I remember I was working at Game Crazy at the time, and we literally we had the demo in the machine all the time, and we would all just take turns trying to beat it until we finally did. Because I remember it just being insane.
Didn't the demo led up to like the first boss of the game, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't
what it was.
But it wasn't exactly the way the first level played out in that game. But it was like you just played that
condensed.
You fought that first guy like in the dojo thing.
Okay.
And I just remember that just everything else just being was nothing compared to that.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah, at that time it definitely felt that way, but I don't think anybody predicted the success of this game. I like
weird.
I had been kind of keeping an eye on it because of all the other stuff that's been going on with it, like behind the scenes with all the IGN fiasco and everything. But
just everything about it, yeah.
I was kind of like, oh, and then you look at Steam and like, okay, there's 500,000 plus that have it pre-ordered, but I was like, I didn't think it was going to shoot up to 10 million copies sold.
Yeah, it's so weird. I get that like it's probably huge overseas.
Yeah. Here, I would not have expected that for a digital only game.
For a digital only new IP.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and weird. You got to remember too, like this game, it is coming to Xbox. It's not out on Xbox yet. They had some sort of issue with getting it there for launch.
Seems to be a problem that a lot of people have these days.
But like 10 million copies just on PC and PS5. It's not a last gen game. It's not on PS4. So.
It's continuing that weird trend though, where there are a certain style of game that people are just ready to buy into out of like Stellar Blade. Like they're just ready to buy into it out of the gate.
Exactly.
And the numbers are far beyond what you would think.
I'm pretty sure I saw at Gamescom. I didn't put it in the news, but they announced Stellar Blade for PC now.
Oh, so yeah. And that game's going to do even crazier numbers on PC. Yeah.
People will buy that there.
Can you imagine the mod community for that game on PC?
That game's going to be insanely modded. So
wow.
100%.
They're smart. They'll just build it into the game and just accept it because it's going to happen.
Let me ask this question. How fast does somebody make a mod to replace the main character with Sydney Sweeney?
Or Tifa? Like it's done. It's already done.
Or Tifa. Or yeah. They're already ready. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll have more to say about Black Myth Wukong the next time we record because I'll have more time now to play it than I have. Other stuff that I've been looking at, I played some more Dragon's Dogma 2. I continue to be very immersed in that game to the point that like kind of put Baldur's Gate on ice for it in a way that I probably shouldn't have, but that's fine. It's still just like at the level of immersion and like things that it breaks like traditional, like the way we think of games traditionally today. Like for example, I had a thing where I walked into a new town, talked to one of the shopkeepers, randomly got a quest about like his kids missing in like a cave nearby, but they don't tell you where the cave is. They don't tell you, like you have nothing to go on.
Right.
You can kind of talk to other people in the town and get kind of clues about it, which is what I ended up doing. And then you kind of deduce like, okay, it might be one of these caves over here, and then finding that person. And then the other thing is like, I assumed when I went in, I finally figured out the cave. It's a fair distance from the town that I had found. And I went in, killed the goblins or whatever that were holding this kid hostage. And I assumed it would be like, Skyrim or something. Like, okay, this kid will make his way on back and, I'll kind of fight my way back.
Yeah.
No. I go all the way back. I go to stand by that shopkeeper and like, I'm like, okay, this kid's not coming. That's kind of weird. And I wait a little bit more. I kind of run around the town. I do some shopping and like changing my armor and stuff. No kid. I'm like, okay, so I have to hightail it all the way there, which there's not really a good way to fast. There are ways to fast travel in the game, but it's not fast travel in like their traditional sense where like you think of like Skyrim where, okay, you've visited this location, you could just fast travel there.
Right. Yeah.
Not like that. So I fight my way all the way back to this cave. The kid's just waiting for me to escort him.
Oh my God.
So my group has to escort him all the way back. Which then I think I talked about it last time we recorded. Like I told you there are ghosts in the game. So by the time we get back to the town, we're like right on the outskirts of the town. I just start hearing the ghosts. I'm like, oh no. And I turn around and I could see like the lights and like the fog and the ghosts are starting to come out. And so I had to get this kid to run across this bridge to get into town. I'm like, no, please don't die. But I did it. Kid got saved. I got a shit ton of gold for doing that. So I just continue to be just really impressed with that game and how untraditional it is with a lot of things. Which again, a lot of people might look at and be turned off by, but I think a lot of time, I think it's important sometimes that a game comes out and it does things differently, that it's not always the same thing. So the only version of fast travel I've unlocked so far in the game is like, you can get on a cart. There are carts that will go between towns. You can get on a cart and then you can pay the person, I think it's like 200 gold, and they'll take you to the next town. But the cart can get attacked. And most of the time it does. So you have to hop off the cart, fight the enemies that are attacking, hope that they're not higher level than you.
Interesting.
That does happen as well, where it's like, okay, these are really, I'm dead. Like that's usually how that goes sometimes. But I just continue to have a blast with that game. So I've been playing more of that. Supermarket Simulator got another big update. Not everything that I want in the game is there yet, but they've done some things that I didn't even know they were going to do. So
quite a bit of content. I mean,
so I reset my store. I spent like a good chunk of this morning completely, like I took everything down. I set my prices to like everything's $1 to just try and get it cleared out so I could take all these shelves down and completely like rework the store. I have taken out, because one of the new things the update did was they gave you self-checkouts. So I finally was like, you know what? This is a self-checkout store. I fired all those people.
Wow.
I sold all the regular checkouts. I installed nothing but self-checkouts. I'm like, fuck it. And so I have like 4 or 5 self-checkouts. They're smaller. I can fit more of them.
Does it work well?
Yeah, it works exactly like you would think.
Okay.
The thing that's going to be funny is whenever this comes in whatever future update, when they start to add like the ability for these NPCs to rob you.
That's what I was thinking about. Like,
that's when I'm going to have to worry about it. But so far it's not an issue. So I'll worry about that when we get there. But I reset it. You can put signs in the store for different departments, different things. The biggest thing that they updated or added is they added a music machine. So you can install speakers all around the store.
Okay.
And then right now, supposedly down the road, you'll be able to add custom music, play whatever music you want. Right now, it's just music they put in the game. So it's like very, very much like elevator music, which is fine.
Music stuff, yeah.
But it works. But down the road, there'll be some custom music in that game.
That's pretty cool.
So
that's a good like extra feature you don't know you want until they say exists. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I spent a lot of time just like redoing the entire store. I redid all the flooring. In order for me, that's the other thing. They did finally fix stockers. There was a huge issue with stockers where like they would go in the stockroom and get stuck by an item because they didn't realize that there was either more of the item on the shelf or the shelf's empty. So they get stuck with it until you take the tag down. They fixed that in this patch.
Okay.
But in order for me to clear out the store and then reset it, I had to fire my stockers, so I had no stockers, and then completely redo the store and then rehire them, because otherwise anything I set down on the ground, they're going to pick up and put on the shelf and put away. So there's not really a good way to turn that off. And from what I was reading, it sounds like they're going to add that as well. So the ability to like turn on
just
and
pause
off
stuff.
Yeah, be able to pause them. So, but again, they continue to just do some great updates for that game. They added some more color options and sign options and stuff as well. So, still like I hope it releases this year.
I was going to say it's still not technically a game yet, right?
No, it's like 0.02. I forget what the version update is, but they still have a roadmap of what they want to put into it before they consider it a 1.0.
Crazy about that game, because it happens with most games that kick off on Steam where it immediately gets, we talked about it before, where it gets like 10 different copies almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all somehow terrible compared to this game, which isn't even like a technical wonder or anything like that.
There's one other one I've seen. There's one other one I've seen that supposedly is close to the same level that also lets you do a internet cafe.
Okay.
so it's like internet cafe, and then so as an internet cafe attached to a supermarket, and then this other thing that came out. Matt and I were gonna try it, but we didn't get a chance to. So I hope we will before the next time we record. But there's something called like Supermarket Together.
I've seen that one,
which is free to play,
and it's multiplayer, right?
Yeah, it's like but we didn't get a chance to try it yet. So, but I have seen other people playing that.
I've seen that one. That one seems like it could be kind of a mess.
I didn't know how popular this game was until like whatever we were watching. Wasn't it the Keeley thing in June? And it was in like the top
it was on
like 5.
The thing,
yeah. And I was like, okay. And I mean, obviously we know the Game Grumps have been playing it, so
I'm hoping
sure
it
gets giving it a bump.
I'm hoping it gets a console release. Like, I think. Does it have controller support for?
They just added this update. So the other thing that's cool too is now if I want to, I could play it on my Steam Deck because they did finally add cloud support.
Okay.
So it'll pull your save over because that was the big reason why I hadn't. And then it has full controller support.
Okay. Because my only thought about controller support would be when you're like taking the money from people, having like you probably have
might be a little weird
D-pad and stuff to move around. So it might be a little much.
Yeah.
But
I don't. Like I said, I haven't tried it with a controller yet, but I'm gonna investigate trying it on the Steam Deck now that I can pull my save.
Yeah, you should. I don't think we'd ever get like a console release of this version until it's probably out.
No, I think it's going to be like a Vampire Survivors type thing. Once you get a 1.0, it comes out.
But who cares? Because the PlayStation Store already has 7 different versions.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's so weird. And then the last thing before we talk about the big thing, for whatever reason, when I was messing around my computer the other day, I had bought maybe like a month or two ago on GOG Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, and I tried to get it to run. It didn't run. For whatever possessed me the other day, I loaded it up. I clicked on it to just see, and it just started working without any issue.
Weird.
I didn't do anything because I was like, well, maybe I'll try it in compatibility mode. I know sometimes that's an issue. I didn't even do that. It just started working. I don't think it has controller support, and I literally had to Google and find out what the controls are because they don't even tell you what the controls are in the GOG app.
Well, GOG is the launcher where it's the most bare bones thing of anything, where it's literally just meant to launch whatever this game was at whatever time it came out.
But I literally went on Google, searched for it, found the controls, opened up Notepad, copied them, put them on my other monitor, and then I played like an hour the other day.
Wow.
And then I was like, yeah, I'm probably stream that in October. So, because it runs, I mean, it's comparable to the PlayStation. It probably runs better than the PlayStation version, but it's a little weird to play with keyboard and mouse, but at least I can look and see what the controls are. So, but the big thing that you and I played, and it's a game that we've definitely talked about at length. It's maybe it's made fun of a little bit at length on the podcast
for sure.
So Best Buy, I don't know, did we talk about this last time that they were doing the 10 for 10 deal?
It might have either just started or was about to start.
Okay,
it must have. I think it had just started. Maybe it was day one.
I don't know if we talked about it. I want to say it was like right when we got done recording. It was like, I'm going to see what tomorrow's game is, and that's when we talked about it. So, Best Buy did what they've done. I think the last 2 or 3 years, they do a 10 days of $10 game deals, which. It seems like there's usually only ever 1 or 2 good deals out of that. Everything else is
because it's like we talked about, where it's not really like a deals thing.
It's just overstock.
We're trying to dump inventory thing because the other hit games on this thing were basketball,
Madden 24, 23.
Yeah, last year's Madden, Gran Turismo for PS4.
Yeah, it was only a PS4
for PS4. A couple random Switch games, which are bad. The only other one that maybe you could have kind of talked me into, I think Sonic Superstars for Switch was $10.
I sat on that one for that day, maybe. But I was like, nah.
Right.
But the one that we did buy into for $10, and I will point out too that like this was $10 on both Xbox and PlayStation. We got it on PS5. Skull and Bones. We have purchased Skull and Bones. We have sailed a little bit of the high seas.
The exclusive Best Buy edition of Skull and Bones.
It's funny when I added it to the Game Eye app or whatever. I added it in there as like I think they refer to it as a limited edition, but it has
some kind of special thing. But it's got the little picture of the Best Buy logo. Yeah.
So we have sailed the seas for a little bit in the Skull and Bones.
We played probably 2.5 hours or so.
2.5, 3 hours of it. Yeah.
I played another hour by myself.
You played a little bit more after. Yeah. It is I guess this is probably the most damning thing you could say, but it is not the train wreck I expected, but it is not great either.
Yeah.
It is just mediocre.
It's somewhere in the middle of that. And it's
it's a perfectly playable game.
Yeah, I would say yes and no. I think the biggest problem we both have with the game is, and I guess maybe you should know this going in, and I think I did, to be fair, but it's just sailing around.
Yeah, you can get out of the boat and you can run around with your character that you do create, to be fair.
Right.
The character creator is not very good.
It's a very odd character creator.
But it's more of as that in third person, you're going through a hub. So you're picking the next mission, or you're, using whatever the currency is to buy things. You can buy and do things with cosmetics to make your character look different, but it really doesn't matter because you don't when you're on the boat.
Mean anything? Yeah,
you don't really see that character.
Yeah, it's you really only see yourself when you're in a town running around. And the most you can do is talk to some people.
Well, I mean,
you can.
That's how you get
your
new
typical
missions.
Emote stuff.
Yeah.
That's how you get missions and go to the bounty board and stuff. I discovered when I didn't figure this out while we were playing it, but I discovered when I was playing by myself. If you're in a town, you can just hold circle and you immediately get on your boat. You don't even have to walk back to your boat.
I wish I would have known that.
I know. It would have cut out quite a bit, but that's another part that they remove from the game just to get you back on the boat that much faster. And I unlocked the ability to salvage shipwrecks and stuff because there's a ton of them where you can force them open and get their gear that was inside. It's so boring. I don't.
Well, the fact too that when you for example, when we were playing and we were taking down some ships in the water, and you got the option to jump on board that ship, you don't control that.
You do nothing. I thought I would jump on and maybe there's some kind of mini game that old school Pirates game for PC.
That's what I was thinking too, to be fair. Yeah.
No, it's just you literally throw your hooks, and if you catch the boat, you get some bonus loot. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. You don't buy gear for your pirate to level up swords or anything. Nothing. It's weird. Strange because we talked about this a lot while we were playing it, trying to compare it to other games. And the most damning thing about the game is that it can be compared to a lot of other games made by the same company.
Yeah,
it's one thing if this was an EA game, right? And EA was we're going to make a pirate game, and we're gonna take elements from Assassin's Creed and all these other things and try to make a game. This is just a stripped down version of Assassin's Creed, and I think I told you. I think the thing I compared it to the most, it felt like it was a Far Cry game on a boat. It didn't even feel like an Assassin's Creed game because if I equate it to Assassin's Creed 4, which is a literal pirate game that these people made a decade ago, that game is far superior to this game.
It is.
It's weird. That game has just as good as sailing, just as good at combat in sailing, but I also get to run around a town and do other missions and collect stuff and all that other stuff.
But that was around the time that this was announced.
Right.
That's the crazy part. So, and that's what I would have expected out of it. And I told you, for example, my girlfriend, huge fan of the Pirates movies and stuff. This would be a game tailor-made for her. But I explained to her, you wouldn't have a good time because it's all the ship.
We're not even on the same boat when we're on the same team.
Mm-mm.
I thought maybe there would be something where it'd be the other problem you can compare it to is Sea of Thieves. If we're a pirate crew in Sea of Thieves, we're on the same boat. I'm steering, you're telling me which way to go, you're looking at the map, you're doing the cannons and stuff. And this, I do all of it myself, and we just kind of sail next to each other.
Yeah.
That's really dumb. And especially in a world where Sea of Thieves is 6 or 7 years old now.
How old is 2018.
Right. So a game that admittedly, when we played it at launch, wasn't great, but it was still fun. That game then is better than this game is now.
And that's the crazy part.
And that game now is far better than Skull and Bones is now.
Yeah. I mean, and also like it's also on PlayStation and sold. I think I didn't put it in here, but they just put out it sold 1 million copies on PlayStation.
And it should, because it is a good game, especially if you want to play a pirate game with friends. You should play Sea of Thieves.
You can get on and off
10 out of 10
the same boat together,
right?
And you can explore different islands.
That game also has like little puzzle solving things, and this is literally like, hey, go sink this boat. Hey, go sink this boat. Hey, I need some ale from these other boats. Go sink these boats, or go collect wood from trees on the side of things. It's just. It feels like there's stuff missing. Maybe it opens up later. Maybe at some point there's a place I can go out and
it doesn't seem like it, though.
Something. But even if there is, it's not enough.
No.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a game where that game took me 200 hours. I loved it. You sail a lot in that game.
You do.
But you also do so much other stuff. It's just an odd choice for this game to...
It is.
Try to be like, this is the pirate experience. It took 10 years. You released X amount of trailers. Remember during the opening cutscene, you and I were counting how many Ubisoft studios worked on this? 11.
11 studios.
11 studios. Ubisoft Montreal, Ubisoft.
And I think a lot of that too was like it got kicked from one to the other when that was like, all right, the next Assassin's Creed needs to be worked on. So we're going to move this project over here.
I struggled to find... obviously, this game had to come out at some point. They finally just had to say it was done. I struggle to find who it's actually for.
Well, I mean, we know it sold horribly. I mean, obviously, it's part of that
$10. Yeah. But
before Black Friday,
it's just I don't think it's a bad game. And I think if it had come out 6 years ago, it would have done a lot better. But it's
in a pre-Sea of Thieves world, I think it would have done much better.
Or even at the same time.
Because there was nothing like that at that time.
If this had come out maybe a couple years after Black Flag, where, okay, you liked Black Flag, you liked the pirate aspect of Black Flag, that's what this game is. You can just do that stuff. But
I think that was the original plan.
Yeah, and it seems like it was. And I want to say you're right, and I think I remember that being planned. But this far removed from that, in a world where Odyssey has come and gone. It's in like Valhalla. Like I haven't played enough of Valhalla to know, but like obviously that's probably just going to keep a lot of the Odyssey stuff.
Yeah,
like those games are better pirate games than the pirate game is.
I want to say when they originally announced this game, like Skull and Bones was the code name for it, and it just became the name. So
I'm trying to think back to the I remember the presentation.
It was the year after Black Flag, so it would have been 2015.
Yeah, I was going to say 14 or 15.
And I feel like it's a kind of game where, like, that was pre-Sea of Thieves. I don't even think Sea of Thieves have been announced yet.
Maybe not.
Even if that game would have come out around the same time or a little bit before, a little bit after, I still think it would have done better.
I think so too, because Sea of Thieves, I think part of what people didn't like about Sea of Thieves right away was like the cartoony look, and it was kind of silly, but I think that kind of grew on you as you played the game because
there also just wasn't a lot to do in the beginning, remember?
Yeah,
they
there was
added
almost
stuff
nothing.
over time.
There was a lot of stuff when that game came out that we talked about. It's like, why doesn't it have this or this or this? And they finally started to add that stuff to it.
So very much a No Man's Sky situation.
Pretty much. That and No Man's Sky are probably two of the greatest success stories of online service games that launched and could have bombed. Like could have just been dead. But they hung around, and they're some of the best games out there for that. Skull and Bones, I don't know. Not that it will go anywhere, but I don't even know what they could have added to save this game.
I don't either. Yeah. I don't.
I think I logged in yesterday, and the season thing had kicked over. So now the whole thing is about like dragons and it's like the other thing about this too is there's almost too much going on for you right away. Because remember when we were trying to join a game?
Yeah, and I got into some event
on accidentally joined some high level event trying to join my game.
Destroyed.
Right. But it's because when you try to join, it immediately pops up. These are all the events going on.
Yeah.
And like the default is to just pick one and join it. That's a bad system for how this is supposed to work.
It's not great. So
and I was doing something where I was trying to do some kind of mission, and then something came up on my screen that said some other mission I was in was failed, but I hadn't done anything. I was like, "What are you even talking about?" Like, the menu system is janky too.
It's very easy to have something pop up, and you click on it accidentally, and then all of a sudden you're in this other thing where it's like, I didn't mean to join this thing. What's happening? So.
Yeah, it's
very busy UI.
For $10, I'm not like upset that I bought it.
It was a curiosity.
It's a curiosity buy at $10. I might be the kind of thing where I play a little bit more of it here and there because the trophies don't seem terrible. It just seems like you have to play a lot. But it's not something I'll ever remember once I'm done with it.
Hey, I'll say this, it didn't shut off your PS5 like Outriders.
Like, hey, we haven't tried Outriders PS4 again.
No,
we got to try that to see, because that's Outriders for PS5 has killed my system twice, but nothing else has done it. I don't know.
Other game.
Don't
so
get
weird. What else have you been playing besides the Skull and Bone?
A lot more Baldur's Gate 3. I told you last time I was stuck on that fight where it's like they're trying to assault the Grove and I just keep getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So I finally decided to leave, and I'm like, let's just go find some other stuff to do.
Okay.
So, I went down to that the swamp area you had talked about before, and I love it because just the way this stuff plays out, you have no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm walking down there. Those two guys are harassing that woman, and I was just like, "Hey guys, like, all I'm trying to do is tell them like back off." They immediately turn on me, so I have to kill both of them. And as soon as I kill them both, I'm like, "That's probably a bad way to go about that," but I guess we'll find out. And then she's like, "Oh, come visit my house and we'll hang out." And I'm like, "Okay." So you start walking through, and it's this nice little swamp thing. And then I see like this sheep, and the game is weird because it lets you talk to animals. Yeah. So I went up and I talked to a sheep, and immediately I passed like some passive check where it's like, I don't think this is a sheep. So then I pass it. I passed like a DC 20 check on it. I got like a 24, and immediately the illusion breaks and the swamp is rotted, and I'm like, oh, this place sucks too. Like, the thing about this game is like everywhere sucks.
You did the complete opposite I did.
Right. That's the best part about this game.
That conversation, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure this is like a witch or something. And so I attacked her to get her to go away. And then that's when you find out, at least from those two guys, it's like, hey, he has our sister or something.
Oh,
I believe it's sister. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then I offer to go save her, but they're like, no, we're going to go try. And then they go to try and
they're
you find them dead. Yeah.
So what happened for me was like all of a sudden the swamp turns to hell, and it's just like gross, and like they don't know that I've broken the illusion yet. So it's kind of weird because you're having conversations with the little gnome things walking around.
Yeah.
But they're still pretending to be animals. So I was just like, this place sucks. Went in there. I found the guy who wants to kill Asterion, talked that guy down, talked Asterion down.
Okay.
Like, leave him alone.
Interesting.
I basically told them both, like, hey, yeah, don't worry about it. Went into her house, which is just a shithole.
Yeah.
See her treating that girl badly, and I'm like, oh, great. Now I got to figure this out. And, we passed some kind of check where the fireplace isn't real. And I'm like, oh, okay. So let's see if we can get in here without her noticing. Now, you go in there, she just notices immediately. Turns into that like crazy witch hag thing.
The
and I'm
actual
like,
witch
oh,
hag.
shit. Yeah. And then instead of fighting us, she just leaves. And I was like, oh, that was... I was fully prepared to die, to be honest with you. So I'm like, oh, that's strange. Okay, I guess we'll follow her down into here. And then you go in her little tomb thing, and that place is even more fucked up because it's just like torturing all these people in these rooms. And then there's like the door that you can talk to, and I basically told the door, like, let me in or I'll fucking break my way in. So he lets me in. And then she's got her little minions in there, and I kill the minions, and then I can't find her, and I'm like, oh, this seems kind of dumb. So I go leave. As you come back out the door, she shows up and she's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, oh, my bad. And then she just lets me leave. I'm like, oh, okay. So I just leave. I'm like, this is probably a situation I have to come back to because I feel like
I think she also was nicer to you because you didn't.
Right.
I straight up attacked her and spited her. So
she kind of gave me you get one kind of a thing.
Yeah, she was less enthusiastic to see me when I rolled up on the swamp.
Yeah. So
in my game.
But the other crazy part is I told you about that frog. You meet there's some weird frog down there, I go try to talk to that, fail. The thing immediately poison bombs me, and Gale dies. And I'm just like, oh, okay, we're not supposed to be here either. I'd say the problem with this game, it's not a problem with the game, but it's just the learning curve of the game is, man, I am not supposed to be here.
It is extreme.
And then you go someplace else, and I am not supposed to be here. It's a weird way to kind of like navigate your way through this world.
100%.
And so I'm like, all right, let's go explore some other place. And then, I run into the fucking devil who just abducts me and takes me to his house. And then you're like, okay. And then blow that guy off. And then I go find the devil woman. And she needs help. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, yeah, sure, I'll help you out too. I didn't realize she was a party member. That's cool. So save her, and then we're like, she needs to kill these paladins. Okay, we go kill these paladins. Immediately after killing these paladins, she decides to go berserk and like destroys this house we're in, which sets off an explosion, which kills Shadowheart. And then finally she calms down. She's like, okay, I'm good. And I'm like, no, this isn't good. Like, you just, God damn it. So I had to go back to camp, pay money to have Shadowheart resurrected.
Yeah.
And then you get this huge argument, like her and that Will guy get this huge argument. But it's crazy to see, like.
Well, like I said, our two playthroughs have been wildly different.
Yeah.
Like, wildly
just the
different.
thought that went into this game in terms of like how the stories weave and split, and how who you have in your party affects what happens. And
this is why a game should take 8 years to make.
Yes, this is a perfect example.
For example of why you should
of why
take
a
that
game
long.
took a lot of people a very long time, and it wins tons of awards because it's just. I don't want to say the game's flawless, but it's damn near close.
Yeah, it is.
The amount of content and just stories in this game is crazy, and I love every minute. I love, even when I die, you're like, okay, that's on me for making a mistake.
Yeah.
So then I think I'm finally strong enough where I can go back and try to do that fight against, the thing I kept failing before.
Okay.
Oh, and then I went to that like Blighted Town thing and found, there's something in this like barn in the back corner, and when you shake the door, it's like you hear this like growling stuff inside. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna. I told myself, I'm not even gonna fuck with this, and I just left.
You didn't open it?
No, I don't fucked it.
Okay.
I wasn't ready to die again, so I was like, I'll come back.
I can tell you what it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not what you think.
I'll come back.
It's two people fucking.
Oh, okay.
But it's like it's like an orc and like a person or something.
Okay.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not what you think.
I thought maybe there was like another way in the building, so I was doing this thing where like I was like jumping on the roof and stuff, and maybe you can like look in. There's nothing else. So I was like, I'll come back.
You end up having to fight them, or at least I did, because it was just like, oh, you found us out, kind of. Yeah, that's what it is.
And then I found.
It's not what you think it is.
Oh, did you find the crazy book in the underground?
No. Tell me about the crazy book.
So I found some like
now you make me want to go back.
I found some trap door that led into like a cave, and in this cave there's a bunch of coffins, but it's like a back way into this like lab. And you go in this lab, and then it turns out there's like traps everywhere. And I found the Necronomicon.
Awesome.
So now I have the Necronomicon, and Gail's like, let me see that book. And I'm like, maybe I'll hold on to the book for now.
Yeah.
But it's got on the mouth on the book, you can't open it. I can't open it. The mouth on the book has like a slot for a gem, so now I got to find some gem to put in this book so I can open it. But Gail is very interested in the book, and I'm like, maybe you don't need the book right now.
All right,
because I'm also in the thing where it's like I got to figure out his situation soon, or I feel like it's going to go real bad.
Yeah,
because it's starting to get to the point where magic items almost don't work anymore.
You're selling me on going back now.
Yeah.
So I want to find the Necronomicon.
Yeah, I found it's like that room is trapped with like 2 gargoyles on either side and like a floor trap. And so that was kind of cool. It's just another one of those things where it's like, I guess I found the Book of the Dead. So sure, whatever.
Well, you've already talked to the devil. You've talked to a devil woman.
Yeah, I bet multiple devils. Yeah.
Like this makes sense.
And everybody wants his worm in my head. And okay. But yeah, I love that game. It is the kind of thing where like I'll play it for a couple days in a row, and then I got to take a little break because it's a lot.
It is a lot,
and it can get. I don't want to say frustrating, but like that time where I was trying to do that mission where I was just too low, and I just kept dying. It was like I need to take a break and then come back and try to do something else.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to that, and then the only other thing I've been playing is kind of like a palate cleanser from the quadruple A game of the year, and Baldur's Gate they gave out that Lego Star Wars game for free. I'm not even someone who really likes Star Wars.
You're probably playing this as the aspect of it being a Lego game than you are Star Wars.
And that's kind of it. Like every couple of years, I burn through one of these. Like I did the Lego DC Villains one 100%. And I was like, I could probably do the Star Wars one 100%. The trophies don't look terrible. The amount of content in this game is fucking insane. It is so much stuff.
Did they redo what they did for the original trilogy? And
yes, this is like a whole new thing.
Interesting.
This is all 9 movies, and then there's tons of open world places to run around, and then there's tons of space stuff to do, and then you know how like a game works. You got to play through level once and then play through it again, and then they have these things where. In the past, it's like you'd collect the gold bricks, and there's like 300 of them in a game.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. This game has 1,200 of them.
That makes sense because there's
each level is like there's 6, but then there's also collectibles and shooting this stuff down. And the worst part of all time, like fucking races, which are always the worst. That was one of like the Lego Marvel games that always held me back. Were those fucking races?
Those are always the worst parts of them.
To the point where I don't understand how kids are supposed to finish these games.
I don't either.
Like, you would think the target audience would be 6 to 13, maybe.
It's more like 10 to 13.
Yeah, but honest. It's just like the amount of stuff. Now, to be fair, this game does make it pretty easy to like find where the stuff is. You can buy upgrades pretty right away, where it's like it highlights everything. Yeah. And then if you are in an open world area, you can go on the map and like mark it, and it will lead you there. But it's just, it's a lot of stuff. But I'll keep playing it every so often just to kind of get through it.
For a free
game. It's great.
Plus game.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all I've been playing is that.
Yeah, no, we can kick over to news. So, which there's, like I said, between Gamescom, between just everything that's been going on, there's been a lot of stuff that has happened in the last 2 weeks. So, like I said, even though we're down a person, it's just there's quite a bit to go over. We'll start with like one of the crazier things that happened. I'm pretty sure this happened literally like the day after we recorded, which is Tango Gameworks is no longer shutting down.
Yeah, this was weird.
They have been picked up by I'm trying to remember the name of the studios I'm looking for right now, but the people that make PUBG. Has picked them up, and they've picked up Tango Gameworks, and it is not there's no impact on existing game catalogs. It's like I don't think necessarily they're going to be able to make Evil Within and that kind of stuff, but they do have the rights to make another Hi-Fi Rush,
which I think they will do for sure. I mean, you don't buy them to not do that.
It would, that's the reason why. So. But yeah, like crazy, like literally waking up the next day, like what's going on here? Like, okay, the studio is not shutting down. So crazy thing. I put this in here too. I don't remember if you ever played this game. I played half of it. I should go back and finish it. But Crosscode.
I played a lot of it.
It was pretty. I
never finished it, but I played a lot of it.
I never finished it either. They're getting ready. They got a new game coming out. I believe it will be out in 2025. It's called Alabaster Dawn. So another RPG.
Is it the same like art style and stuff too?
No, a little bit different.
More like hand-drawn stuff.
Yeah, but still, those people made a hell of a game in Crosscode.
I like Crosscode a lot. I never realized that they made DLC for that game.
They did. I bought it. I never played it.
I need to go. I kind of want to go back and.
That's a game that was on Game Pass for so long, and then when it left, I ended up buying it just to have it. And it came with, I think, whatever DLC that came out with it.
Yeah, and it was an interesting thing where I want to go back because I want to see how the story plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But it also had a lot of really cool like puzzle stuff in it too.
Yeah,
that I liked a lot. And like the platforming and just trying to figure stuff out in the world. It had almost like a Golden Sun level of stuff where it's like there's puzzles to figure out in the world.
I can agree with that. Yeah. Cool game. I look forward to see what that team does with something new because it's been a while since Crosscode came out. So, So there's that. I don't think I put in here that other like Halloween / Evil Dead like 8-bit, 16-bit game that's coming out that I think is overpriced, but we'll see. But they're also making a new Halloween game in Unreal 5
that
with John Carpenter's help, and I don't think it's, from what I'm reading here, it's not going to be what you think it is. Like, because the first thing I read when I read this, they're going to make another Dead by Daylight.
That's what
game.
I thought too.
Doesn't seem like that. Seems like it's going to be a single player game. So, very interesting. So, I mean, at this point, the franchise, as far as movies go, can be on ice for a while. So I guess that's what I would do with it, is make a game to keep it fresh until you come up with a new spin. So
it's just like,
last movie was not very well received.
What do you want that game to be?
I don't know. And that's the thing that's like, so are you playing as Laurie Strode fighting off Michael Myers? Or are you going to play as Michael Myers trying to fight Laurie Strode? Like, I don't know. So
what if it's H2O, the game?
There you go.
Or the Busta, that's not the Busta Rhymes one. Do the Busta Rhymes one.
I thought that was the Busta Rhymes.
Maybe
one.
it is. I think they all bleed together after a certain point.
There's a certain era of them that bleeds together, and it's a part of that era. Because I want to say that is the Busta Rhymes one, because right after it, you got the two shitty Rob Zombie ones.
Oh, maybe you're right.
That like one of those, like the remake of it is bad, and the sequel to it is like 10 times worse. That was the one where Michael Myers like flipped a car.
Hell yeah,
that's a bad movie. So, Splitgate. Okay, so I'll get on a little soapbox on this. I guess Splitgate is getting a sequel. It was announced a while ago. It's really weird how this happened, because Splitgate came out. It was very successful. People loved that game. It brought back a lot of memories of like classic Halo, like 4v4, 5v5 arena, but it had all the Portal stuff, which was really cool. It's a really good mashup of Halo and Portal. People really liked it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just kind of cut it. And we're like, we're done with this, but we're going to work on the next thing, which is just Splitgate 2. I don't know if you've seen anything about Splitgate 2.
No.
But it is going... So the original Splitgate very much has that like classic Halo feel to it. Splitgate 2 just looks like a esports nightmare.
Oh boy.
And that's where people are not happy about it, like how it looks. And it's unfortunate, because like you look at the maps and stuff that they put out so far, I agree with the title here. It does look like it's lost its soul, and it's like just turned into this esports thing where like they're really pushing that aspect of it. And like, I don't think that's going to take off.
Are they going to keep Splitgate 1 up and running?
Yeah, it has been this whole time. Like, you could still play it.
Yeah.
They didn't do any new season passes or anything like that, but you can still play the game. So I wonder, I should look into like what the concurrent player count is for that game. It's probably low now, but it's I don't know. I watched the initial trailer when they said, I think it's early access early next year. It saddens me compared to what the original game looked like. So let's talk about, I made a video on this too. I don't know how much you know about this.
I do know. Yeah.
Okay. This is really fucking stupid. We like to talk on here about how some of these games journalists have lost their mind. A lot of it has to do with Gamergate 2. This is not a Gamergate 2 situation. This is just, in my opinion, someone being a dumbass. And so what happened is, there is like the best worst kept secret in the industry right now is that Valve is working on a hero shooter, and has been for a while, called Deadlock. Everybody knows that this thing exists. Everybody knows that it's out there. It's in early access. I mean, I think I saw there's like 20,000 people are playing this game in early access, but there's a big thing. Yeah. But there's a big thing. It has like the NDA, like do not fucking talk about this, whatever. So The Verge, Tom Warren over at The Verge, this came out, gosh, this is probably over a week ago when this happened, because this happened pre-Gamescom. Decided to put out a whole article about how he got to play the game early. And you would, by looking at like, sure, whatever. You look at this article, you go, okay, whatever, it makes sense. Except for one small problem. He wasn't asked to play this game early. He wasn't invited to play this game early by Valve, and it's still under NDA. And his argument, and it is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, is when it comes up on the screen and says, and I'll read it verbatim. This is what it says when it comes up when you load the game. It says, early development build. Deadlock is still in early development with a lot of temporary art and experimental gameplay. Do not share anything about the game with anyone. And this man's argument, and I'll read it here, is what he says. He goes, this message does pop up when I launched the game, but I didn't click OK. Instead, I hit escape and watched it disappear.
Right.
That's his logic for being able to talk about this game. Well, he didn't agree to it. So now, by not agreeing to it, I can just talk about it and share all these fucking screenshots.
Tell everyone about it.
And weird that later on they updated the article and his access has been revoked. How weird is that? Like, so strange. But like, this is another example of like, we're just going against the grain and doing our own fucking thing.
Well, he just thinks he's smart.
And
he thinks
not following the rules.
I beat the system. I pushed escape instead of okay. So by doing that, I can do what everyone else has not done.
It's grade school logic. It's like I think I even put it in, I put the image that somebody shared as the meme as the thumbnail of my video, where it was like, I'm just a sign, I'm not a cop. Do whatever you want kind of a thing. But like, that's exactly how this man treated. And it's like, that's not, you can't do that though. So
when I laughed at, like, he updates and says, well, it looks like I got banned. You can make fun of me in the comments for it. It's like, you got banned because you're a dick.
Yeah, like you weren't supposed to talk about this game. They weren't ready for people to talk about it.
Nobody else has done it. You think so? That makes it okay that you did.
Nobody's sharing anything about it. This is the first time I've even seen screenshots of what it looks like.
I've got news for you. I bet you there's something else in the game that doesn't involve you clicking this OK button that says you're not allowed to do this.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
I'm sure, and since it's a Valve game and you played it on Steam, I bet you it's in the Steam TOS that you had to agree to install it.
If Disney was going to deny somebody's lawsuit,
well, that's a
because of the team,
thing.
which thankfully they are not doing that anymore. But I'm like, if they're going to go to that level over a TOS thing, Valve could certainly probably pull a TOS thing on this game.
Yeah,
and people would understand it. in comparison,
in all purposes of this, like, it's pointless because the article's already written. It's already been read.
Yeah, it's already out there.
It's not that much of a secret anyway.
No.
But this is, he fucked around and he found out. They kicked him off.
Exactly.
He's lucky they didn't just take his whole Steam thing and just say, that's done. Like, we locked it.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is, like, that could be part of the terms of service. Like, hey, you did this. Like, your library's revoked. Sorry. Right. You fucked around. You found out. They won't do that because you know what would happen if they do.
Oh, God, the article.
They'll make it public on The Verge and they'll throw a fit.
Right.
Yeah. So they won't do that, but they'll certainly revoke his access to this beta. And they have every right to. So, just a dumb thing. I highlighted it because when it happened, I saw very little, and obviously no main journal website. Like, none of them are going to talk about this because they all agree with it. So you're only going to find it on YouTube or maybe people talking about it on Twitter. But it's still a fucked up thing. So, like, let's not be like this person and do that in the future. So, they put out an update. I don't know if you've seen this. There's new features and stuff to like the UI, especially if you're on like a Windows 10 PC, Windows 11 PC as well, that really still support the idea that they're working on that Xbox handheld.
Yeah.
A lot more handheld friendly.
I mean, the thing about them, we've talked about this before with everything they do, like, they're always working on everything. And they always kind of have to, like, future-proof stuff just in case stuff eventually does exist. So, are they working on a handheld? Yes. Have they been working on a handheld for a decade? Probably. It doesn't necessarily mean it's real.
It also means like they have to update this UI for tablets.
Sure, they have Surface.
And that's handheld.
The Surface has existed for a long time.
Yeah.
So, does it need to be in there already? Yeah. I lean more towards they will make a handheld just because
I do too.
Steam decks have kind of proved, and like Asus, the ROG Ally has kind of proved that there is like a pretty big market for this.
It seems like the support is there too.
Right.
Like anytime it's brought up, people seem really on board.
We've talked about it where all it has to be is a Game Pass device.
And even if you look on the other side of the fence and you look at Sony, look at how successful the PlayStation Portal has been.
People are buying the Portal.
It's not what you want it to be. Right. If Microsoft in turn makes their version of that, but it is what you want it to be.
Right.
It'll just be that much more successful.
Where it has storage in it and you can download stuff to it and stream to it.
And I would argue right now that's the kind of win that they need, and we'll get into it, but to have a device where it does what you want it to do,
right? It helps
would
you
be
play
a big
video
move for them. Yeah. I don't have to play it over an internet connection, so I don't have to stream it.
Yeah.
So, in our many we're getting to that point of the year where things are going to get delayed, and this will not be the only delay we talk about today. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has been delayed till February of 2025. I'm not surprised.
No.
And the game still looks really good. I actually just I own it, but for whatever reason it came up with all the DLC digitally on the Xbox store. It was like $4. So I picked that up the other day because I do need to play the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I have it. I played like a little bit of it, but I never like really dived into it. And I want to because I think the new one looks really good. So but it's been delayed by a couple months. I don't think that really hurts the game. It just seems to be a pretty decent amount of excitement around the game. So the people that played the original one really liked it. So it did very well. Call of Duty is not going to have as crazy of an install size this year. It's about time.
I mean,
like they've only gotten bigger and bigger.
It's only gotten far worse every single year.
I think for people that own the OG Series S machines, like they're able to install that maybe one other game at this point because of how big the install size is.
Especially because it's split in that where here's the single player and here's the Warzone stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like
even
installing two whole games,
and that's going to be the thing that sucks. This will be the first year that it's on Game Pass. Obviously, I'm going to play it because of that, and it's going to force me to download Warzone, something that I will never touch.
Right,
but because it's part of the package every year, it forces you to install that. So that's like that'll probably still be like 100 gigs of wasted space.
Then
on
you
my
download
system.
The single player and you burn it, and then you're done.
That's what I'll do. Like I probably try a match or two of multiplayer and have the realization I have every time, which is, yep, this is Call of Duty.
Right.
I delete it. So, because I just
you don't want to play as the X-Men against
Rhea Ripley,
Barack Obama. I don't know who the hell's in that game.
Rhea
anymore.
Ripley. Remember they put Rhea Ripley in there from WWE, and
they had wrestling moves.
Yeah.
So weird.
Told you I saw the one screenshot of Jeff Gerstmann playing where it was like the back of the fucking helicopter or whatever. It was just 4 Rhea Ripleys.
Yep.
And that made me laugh. Like that's what that game has become though. We've talked about this a couple times on the podcast about how like the Until Dawn PS5 version's not looking spectacular. And it probably shouldn't be a full price game. It's a full price game at $60.
$60 for a game that
I get it. You can't do at this point. It's 9 years since the original came out, right? So you're not going to do the deal to get people to get an upgrade to this.
No,
version.
you're not
I understand that, right? It's been 9 years, but like $60 for this seems ridiculous
for a game that already works on my system.
Out there. Yeah, and like I've seen people trying to defend it out there. I'm like, it's still no. Like I could just go play the PS4 version that plays perfectly fine on a PS5.
Adding content, it's not. Mm-hmm. It would be one thing if it was like Until Dawn Director's Cut, and they had
a
more endings, and there's a chapter that we put back in, and more dialogue or whatever. Like there could be anything if it was just called Director's Cut, but it's the same game.
It's wild.
Just wait for the movie. How about that? Just wait for the movie, which cannot possibly be what you want it to be because of the way the game is structured.
So let me ask this: do you think by October of 2025, this is a PlayStation Plus giveaway? A year from now?
Didn't they give away the PS4 one
until a while ago for PS4?
So,
but I'm saying like probably a year is what it'll take before they're like, okay, because I cannot imagine or see this thing flying off the shelf.
I just don't know.
I really don't. Who's it for?
I don't know. It's a weird one.
And the argument I saw flying around was, well, there are a lot of PS5 owners that didn't own a PS4. I'm like, I don't think so though.
That was one of the dumbest things I heard.
I don't think that's the case.
I think I told you that because I read it on some forum. It's like there's a lot of PS5 owners who didn't own a PS4. That is such a
PS3
such a
to
crazy
PS4.
lie.
Sure, I understand. Not PS4 to PS5.
is like the second highest selling console ever.
Exactly.
Right? Isn't it? It's like Wii and then that, I think.
No, I think it's 3 because I think PS2 and
whatever.
Then Wii.
It's
and then
we're talking
it's like
top 3 minimum, probably. You cannot tell me that the argument is that more people own a PS5 who didn't own a PS4.
No. No.
There were arguments a couple months ago where it's a lot of PS4 owners haven't bought a PS5 yet.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a reason to. And even now, there almost isn't.
Agreed. Yeah, like that's the it's just I can't understand why you would charge $60.
We're finally hitting the point where people are like, man, I have to buy a PS5. You want to play college football? You need a PS5. You want to play Final Fantasy 7-2? You needed a PS5. Like, you're finally at a point where they're not going to give it to you anymore. So, exactly. But this is 5 years later. Right? Or four or five, whatever, close enough.
We will be 4 years this fall.
Right. That's very far.
We are 4. Let me put it this way: we are 4 years into this console generation, and there has not been a actual confirmed price cut of either system that has locked at that
not a
price
real
cut.
one, because when they make real ones, they make a big deal about it. They go, the PS4 is now $399,
and we'll get to. I think that's coming for the PS5, but and we'll get to it later in the news. But $60. I can't.
I think we talked about it before. I said 40 was the highest where I feel like you could have made an argument for it. But 30 is the kind of thing where if you want to sell it.
Exactly. So, everyone's favorite Black Myth Wukong, which, the biggest selling game right now. I don't know if you saw the marketing team thing all around, like the Steam keys and yeah. So again, the one thing I will point out is like this is the first like major release in the video game space from China in a very long time, if ever. Like not counting mobile games, like I'm talking
that stuff. That stuff is different, right?
And so. Yeah, part of it to me makes sense that they're going to have some maybe weird, like a little bit weirder terms.
China is a very censored country. Like they just are.
They are.
To the point where it's almost strange that this game exists and made it out of the country. Because the rules they're like the laws and rules regarding video games in that country. I don't like the last time I read anything about that was years ago, but they're crazy in terms of like how much you can play, how Microsoft is even able to sell stuff in that country, how Nintendo is able to sell stuff in that country, subscription services, like they have weird Game Pass like things
or rules.
Yeah, it's just odd. So it's almost even weirder that this game came out.
So here is their list of do's and don'ts for streamers for the game. For people that got free keys, to be fair,
and it should
people that bought the game, whatever you want.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. But if we gave you a key, these were the rules.
These are the rules. There's one do. Enjoy the game.
Hey, hell yeah.
Sure, hell yeah. Do not insult other influencers or players.
Fine.
Okay,
reasonable.
Do not use any offensive language or humor.
Reasonable.
Okay, fine. You're reasonable. Do not include politics, violence, nudity, feminist propaganda, fetishization, and other content that instigates negative discourse.
So we'll stop here for a second because I understand where they're coming from.
I do too.
There's probably a better way to say this, and especially there's one you probably didn't need to just blatantly label in the middle there.
I agree.
But that's clearly like a snapback at the press.
The IGN article.
Yes.
Yeah. Do not use trigger words such as quarantine or isolation or COVID-19.
That's obviously that's probably, to be fair, that's probably a country policy at this point.
I think so. Yeah.
Nothing related to them can ever have
The one that makes the most sense to me because it's a game from China is the last one here, which is do not discuss content related to China's game industry policies, opinions, news, etc.
Right.
That makes sense.
There's a lot of it where it's those are more like country policies that are probably relate to most things they put out. I would assume that falls under like any movies made in China that come out.
Probably.
I would assume it falls under all of that
stuff. Look at how movies have had to been ultra censored to come out in China.
Right.
Like you look at the Marvel stuff, you look at Star Wars, you look at how the posters had to be edited certain ways.
Magic and stuff in those movies.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's rules, and if that's a country-wide mandate for all media, you can't really put that on them. It's that one specific sticking point in the middle where it's an obvious reaction to
it is
what happened.
And again, the whole thing that happened in that situation, there was somebody at IGN that wrote we'll use the term hit piece, but that's basically what it's become. And they used a mistranslated text from the article. The problem is the mistranslation, and like it has been proven now time and time and time again that it was mistranslated. But this person that wrote that article keeps doubling and tripling and quadrupling down that no, it's not mistranslated.
When it
has literally been proven.
When you've had people like that one Chinese YouTuber woman who like read it. And she's like, no.
She literally read it verbatim and was like, okay, this is what this person means in our language.
Right.
Versus what you
remember,
think it means.
Context and direct translations from different languages are very hard to understand sometimes. But unless you're a native speaker. Now, if the person who wrote this IGN article could speak Chinese, maybe I'd believe it.
A little bit, yeah. But she has obviously gone. She's tweets protected off Twitter, but she's out talking about it on Reset. I forgot Reset Era, or we used to know it as NeoGAF back in the day.
NeoGAF.
Now Reset Era is kind of like the hive mind for the journalists now. So she's been talking it over there about it and like how she feels like she's being harassed and everything, which like, yeah, there is a level of it where some of it is harassment. I'm not going to beat around the bush on it, but like also like you're still clinging to something that has been proven false. Like you can't get any more clear than that. Like when somebody from that country is telling you, I speak this language, this is what this means, this is what that means, this was mistranslated. It's hard to defend that. Like that article at this point. There was another person that got involved, I guess. I think it's a freelancer from IGN, and I didn't put this in here. I was trying to find a screenshot of the tweet, but they had literally tweeted, and of course they're tweets protected because that's what these people do all the time. But it literally put out there that like, do not buy Black Myth Wukong, don't support it if you have to pirate the game. Can you imagine in 2024 being someone that works at IGN, freelance or not, and advocating people to pirate a video game?
Yeah, but we say this like IGN has any kind of like ethics of any kind anymore.
They don't.
That used to be. You know what is insane about like the history of IGN? As someone who's been reading IGN since pretty much as long as it's been around.
We both have.
As long as it's been around. Do you remember what original IGN was? IGN had a column every day, Babe of the Day.
I was going to say, yeah, because people like to bring that up all the time when, yeah.
But, like, that is what IGN used to be. Obviously, 25 years ago, when it's that, and they're talking about, like, upcoming movies like Spider-Man, and they would have categories for all this stuff. That's obviously what people wanted at the time. Like, does that need to exist anymore now? No, you can go other places if you want that kind of content. Reddit exists. But it's wild to see them go from that to, like, the number one place that used to have good articles about stuff to now where it's we hire anybody, they can do whatever they want, we'll fact check it when it's relevant. Remember your buddy who just blatantly stole shit from other people? Philip Muchin or whatever his name was?
Yeah.
Where he just out and out stole crap from people. And then when he got busted the first time, he's like, well, that's the only time I ever did it. And then they went back and they're like, oh, that you're going to challenge us now? Because we went and found 6 others.
They went back to like 2015 or something absurd.
Yeah. He was copying fucking FIFA reviews. He need to copy a FIFA review, dude. I can write one without having to play a FIFA game.
Exactly.
But then you get the typical IGN of like, oh, man, we didn't know.
Yeah.
We just didn't know. We're so sorry.
Yeah.
I can't believe we let that happen. It'll never happen again. How come nobody figured it out? Who's his editor? Somebody had to read his shit before it posted,
somebody read it and was like, that seems weird, but whatever. Like that's I feel like was the reaction.
Yeah.
That seems a little odd or suspect, but whatever.
But that's IGN has just become a place where, remember, I think we may have talked about it. Maybe this happened before we even started this whole thing. But when they were talking about, we're redoing our review scores again, and we're going to change the system. We're going to change the system again. And then that guy doubles, triples down on, we're going to do whatever the hell I want because it's what I want to do in terms of reviews. I'll turn off comments to make a point. Excuse me, what? What is his website?
That's like a common, like almost anytime you see anything that's written with any kind of opinion whatsoever, the comment section will be turned off.
It's because IGN's not a gaming news site anymore. It's a blog.
No, it is.
It's
what I argue that about all of these websites. They're all blogs.
They're all just blogs now. Yeah. And you have to. It's no different than finding the blog of somebody you like and reading their stuff. They're all blogs. But IGN is a blog that masquerades as some bigger media company.
Well, when
almost everything is just opinion pieces.
It is at this point. So they bought a lot. I mean, that's the thing. They bought a lot of those websites.
Yeah.
In the last month or two. So.
Well, it doesn't help that everyone else is going away. Like Game Informer's dead.
Yeah.
You could argue to me that Game Informer was the last place you could go to get actual gaming news and actual preview articles that actually gave a damn about stuff. But
I can agree with that.
They couldn't exist anymore because A, they're a magazine, so they're a month behind on all news, and B, they're owned by GameStop, which is a shit show in of itself.
It is. So, yeah.
But it's a good thing. Just the last thing on that black thing. It's a good thing that people freaked out about all these rules, but it didn't matter.
It doesn't
10
matter.
million copies.
They're not going to change.
Guess what you're getting in a couple of years? Wukong 2.
Wukong 2, yeah. No. They decided that the first day when they saw 2 million concurrent players. Like, all right.
And you know what? And maybe it'd be different, but all of the reviews for it, pretty good.
That's the thing. Yeah, like
they say there's some technical problems, which name a game that doesn't have one when it comes out.
Yeah.
And
I'll say this as someone who has played a little bit of it, if there are technical problems, it's very playable.
Right.
So, but, and again, also it's if you look at it, I would say it's a higher profile PC release than it is PlayStation.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's always going to vary on PC. Name a PC game this current generation that has launched without any issues. Right? Like,
we've talked about it before, and that's why I don't PC game. I don't have the time to worry about upgrading my computer. No, I put a disc into my PlayStation and it works. And if it doesn't work for me on a PlayStation, it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah,
so exactly. It's not my problem.
Then you wait a day or two for them to patch it.
It's not my fault.
So, before we get into the next slew of news, things are all Xbox related. I'm going to read these 2 emails first. Because they all are going to go in, and we're going to go hard into the Xbox news. Yeah. So this will encapsulate a lot of that. But we have 2 of them here. Grayson from Detroit, Michigan. Howdy, guys. I'm reaching out regarding all the latest Xbox bullshit. Between how you guys have been talking about them lately in Kyle's latest video on Phil Spencer's sudden reversal regarding the release of Indiana Jones. Feels like he made a deal with the devil back in 2019 with Game Pass, and because that deal didn't pan out, the devil has come to collect. And in this case, it's making everything third party slowly. But it really just irritates me that at this point, there just seems to be no actual reason for someone to buy an Xbox anymore. Christopher from New Hampton, New Hampshire. Well, hey guys, I gotta say I agree with most people on this Xbox bullshit lately. Like, what the actual fuck are they doing at this point? Seriously. I was already mad enough this past spring that some decisions I went and bought a PS5, and at this point I'm close to just selling my Xbox and putting everything into the PlayStation side of things. It just seems like there's no clear direction being given. I think Xbox knows the direction, but they don't want to tell any of us consumers that direction. What do you all think? So, and this is in relation to a lot of stuff that happened at Gamescom, and we'll go over the first one, which I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but I think they should, is we finally now have kind of an idea of the rules for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of. Right.
Which basically Xbox Game Pass subscribers will have to wait up to 12 months or more for some of Ultimate's biggest releases, which I'm not surprised because, again, their whole push and their whole idea is they want you on that Ultimate train. They don't want you to subscribe to them.
To be fair, you probably, if you're an Xbox owner, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. If you're an Xbox owner and the Xbox is the only console you have, if you're not an Ultimate owner, you're not doing it right.
Yeah,
that is what that system is now. Like, we're talking about a system they don't make physical games for almost anymore. So I get where they're coming from, but to say it's 12 months or more, 3 years is more than 12 months, 6 years is more than 12. That doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. You might have to wait up to 12 months or more. That as a sentence means every possible time frame.
It does.
You might have to wait up to 12 months. Well, tomorrow is a day. That's between now and 12 months. But 12 months or more, that means 13 months is more than... It's every possible time from this moment on is included in the statement. Means
it's not great. It's not great.
One of the dumbest things they've ever said.
It is.
And obviously it's going to go on like a game-by-game basis. Do they want to give you Call of Duty immediately? No, they don't. They really don't. They have to this year. They have to.
They have to. But they really don't want to.
They don't want to. And they got to make $69 billion back.
The game that is going to take at least 12 months to come to other versions of Game Pass will be the latest Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. It'll be whatever the next big stuff is.
They'll trickle you the older ones.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
But they're not
they don't plan on making money on that from the game purchase anymore, but they do from Warzone. No. That's a different animal.
That's different, yeah.
We're talking about like Forza, 6 months. Gears of War, 6 months. Halo, 6 months. 12 months. Like, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And it really shouldn't be surprising. Like, the Game Pass, even without like day one releases, is still a very good deal just because of the quantity of stuff on there is wild.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of first person stuff or first party stuff. But again, you should already just have Ultimate. So I'm not even sure what this argument's for.
No, agreed. In the continuing the trend of pissing people off, the game Towerborn, which I guess people were somewhat excited for, originally, was a day one Game Pass release. That's what it was touted in June.
Okay.
Is now a limited time exclusive on Steam. So it's going to be exclusive on Steam first before coming to Game Pass because they're going to do an early access thing with like a beta. I think it's in September. But people are upset about that because, again, just a few months ago, this was announced as a day one Game Pass game. No longer a day one Game Pass game.
Don't be surprised if you see more of that.
Well, that leads into the biggest part of all of this, which is Indiana Jones. Now, we've said time and time again on this show, in the past year, Indiana Jones would come to PS5.
It made the most sense of all of it. It's machine games. They've made stuff for PlayStation before.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big enough. It's not a system selling game for 99% of people. It just makes sense to have it on Xbox first and then put it on PlayStation later.
It is wild to me, though, that they actually put this trailer up at this showcase with a PlayStation logo at the end of it.
That's weird. You would think it would be an aside after the fact.
I thought it would be a press release on their website. Like, also, it's coming spring 2025 to PS5. No. They put it right in their trailer. Which obviously has upset a lot of people. So, and then Phil Spencer's come out, explain the decision behind it. Other thing that came out that I thought was kind of interesting is that at some point they had negotiated the deal to make this game exclusive, and then since then renegotiated the deal to bring it back to PS5. So originally it was not going to be exclusive, and then they negotiated to make it exclusive, and then renegotiated.
You could see why they would negotiate to make it exclusive, because obviously Disney property, they have to go to Disney, they have to work all this stuff out, and
for sure,
and put something in there where it's only going to be for us. But then, whenever that was done, and then now you look at, well, we've released 4 games on PlayStation as it is. And those all did pretty well. And Indiana Jones, if it's going to be a Game Pass game, we're not really going to sell it for Xbox. So now we're talking about putting it on PlayStation, actually selling it and making money off of it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I fully get why it's happening now, and it's going to pave the way for more games to do this going forward.
It is.
But it's just another shitty look for everything that this deal did and how it was all negotiated and how it worked out and how it came to be. And while we're going to let Call of Duty be on there for a decade because that's not the point, but we're going to keep this other. Well, now we're not going to do this, but now it's also like, why didn't he just announce Starfield? It's like, we all know Starfield's going to end up there at some point.
That was the point I made in the video I put out, was like, why at this point? Yes, will there be those few people that are going to be upset that Starfield is no longer an exclusive Xbox game? Sure, but most people don't care anymore. And by having Starfield come to PS5, they're not going to give a shit about that. It's going to be whatever.
At this point,
they should. I am shocked coming out of this showcase that Indiana Jones is what was announced, and it wasn't, hey, here's a Starfield Game of the Year in November.
Or it wasn't both of them.
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to be this like slow trickle of we announce one game and then maybe in a couple months we'll do another one? It's
that part is weird too. I think part of it is they're afraid, but like it doesn't matter. You're going to piss the people off whenever you do it. So you might as well rip off the Band-Aid and just do it. And
like they have to understand that things are trending in such a way where it's shades of Sega back in the day where eventually they might just realize like maybe we're just a publisher now. Like I don't think they ever want to get away from hardware because I think they still want to be like the media box for your home because you do need something in your house that can play all these streaming apps. So why wouldn't it just be an Xbox and Game Pass exists and all that stuff? But there's more money to be had and there's more money to make back off of this deal by releasing it on PlayStation. They already released, like stuff on the Switch. They have no problem with Nintendo.
Switch.
They've had no problem putting Minecraft on other things. They
haven't.
That's not the issue. The issue is we spent $69 million and we built this streaming service and, we don't even tell people how many subscribers we have for this thing anymore. And we've changed the prices and we've changed the rules and all this other stuff. It's like, and clearly something's not working. Like the email, like that first email you read, clearly something isn't working anymore. And they have to figure out a way to justify what they just did. Call of Duty is the justification. We all know that. Diablo is the justification. Like all that. Warcraft and the King money is the justification.
It is.
But in terms of console stuff, we got to start putting this stuff on other platforms. And we got to start doing it quick.
Well, we'll go over the last arrow to the knee, as I'll call it, for Microsoft, and then we'll go off on some things he said in that article.
Okay.
But I want to put this one out there because this once again is, not the good look for Microsoft. So one of the biggest games shown at Gamescom has been Avowed. Avowed, for everything I'm reading, like people are really excited. All the press of it has been positive. People are really looking forward to that game coming out. Obviously, we know it got delayed. Their marketing for delaying it was very lame, but the reality of that is it just needed more polish, but apparently not in the frame rate department.
Not the way you want it polished, yeah.
They have announced that it is confirmed only 30 frames. Once again, we're doing another Xbox console release, only 30 frames. It's like a rinse and repeat. It's going to happen. It's going to come out. It's going to be 30 frames, and in 6-8 months, here's a patch, 60 frames. Like, I don't understand. And and here we get like, well, it's not really necessary for this game.
Do you think that the real argument is it's a Series S limitation?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Right? They all are.
100%. And I think because these are first-party titles, these aren't multi-platform. I think these are first-party studios that are afraid to say that is the reason publicly.
Right.
I'm sure it is said all the time privately.
Because
I'm sure it's brought up to Phil Spencer all the time.
Third-party studios have said it. Baldur's Gate said it. We can't make this thing fucking run.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that is exactly.
But they buried themselves in this Series S crap, and they're stuck there.
Because I bet you if that was not the case, and we just had a Series X, wouldn't be an issue.
Hey, here's an argument. Starfield's a single-player game.
Yeah,
was 60.
It's 6 frames.
Was 30 frames okay for Starfield?
They just announced at this showcase, the Series S is somehow magically going to get a 60 frame option.
Weird.
For Starfield. I think it did I think with the patch when they put out the little vehicle.
Wow.
So,
well, you know what
crazy.
I mean? Like, but your argument's already gone. Starfield.
It is.
Is Indiana Jones going to be 30 frames?
No. You've seen from the footage,
but
it's not.
But it's a single player game.
Exactly.
Shouldn't it be 30 frames?
I think it will be on Series S.
On Series S it might be.
But
when they port it to the Switch, it'll be a stream only 30 frames.
To highlight these two emails, I want to read, and this is what I went off in the video that I made, and I think you'll agree. Some things that Phil Spencer said in this interview that is triggering. The biggest one, and this is the one that triggered me. And I'm just going to read this verbatim.
Okay.
He puts out there, our franchises are as strong as they have ever been.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
like that's all I was going to say for the first part.
Okay,
here.
let rebuttal. Name one.
And that was the point. I said, so you're going to sit here and tell me that Halo is as strong as it's ever been.
No, okay. Halo was strong 15 years ago.
The mascot, the Mario of Xbox, who is like circling the drain as I say this, is as strong as he's ever been.
He arguably peaked at Halo 2.
Coming off of a disastrous TV adaptation that just was canceled. Right. A game that, has all but been forgotten at this point in Pretty Halo much. Infinite. Like people are still, more people are playing it than Concord, but there's that at least. But like, still, I mean, it is free to play multiplayer. But yeah, to say our franchises are as strong as ever. Okay, like what's another one? Like when was the last Gears of War? 2020. It was Tactics. Okay, Fable has been cooking since 2018, and we haven't had a new one since 2013.
The only game I think you could argue to me would be Forza. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. That's the only argument. And that franchise, I feel like, has single-handedly kept this boat alive.
Has kept Microsoft Studios in existence?
Yes. Because there isn't another franchise I can name where I'm like, okay, this is keeping it alive.
Well, it's because Forza is the kind of thing where you know exactly what you're going to get, and when you get the game, that's what you get. It's never bad.
But to come on and say that our franchises have never been as strong, like no. God, no. I guess the only other one I would maybe throw out there, and I didn't think of it until just now, because I mean, there's no sequel to it or anything, but if you wanted to throw out there for these, for argument's sake, Sea of Thieves.
I guess so.
I can argue that because now, look, you put it on a different
platform.
But
it's on a different console. Yeah. You injected life into it by releasing it on a new system.
Here's the other issue I have with what he said. That was part one, which was our franchises that strong. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
Part two. The last thing I'll say, as an industry right now, there's a lot of pressure on the industry. It's been growing for a long time, and now people are looking for ways to grow. Us as fans, as players of games, we just have to anticipate that there's going to be more change in how some of the traditional ways that games were built and distributed, that's going to change. That's going to change for all of us. But the end result has to be better games and more people can play. If we're not focused on that, I think we're focused on the wrong things. So for us at Xbox, health of our platform, and our growing games are the most important things. So his argument here is that the industry as a whole is changing. And my argument against that is, if that's true, why am I not seeing it on the other side of the fence?
Right.
What PS5 games are coming over to, like, I'm talking first party. What PS5 games are coming over to Xbox?
They're barely putting shit on PC.
What Nintendo PC games are coming over to, like, none. It's just Microsoft.
Right.
And they're doing this because they have to.
They're the ones that have to backpedal everything and delay everything. When's the last time a major Nintendo first-party game got delayed 6 months? And then got delayed another 6 months? You can't name one. Because they don't exist. Nintendo, because you know why? Because Nintendo waits until 4 months before a fucking game comes out. And they go, hey guys, check it out. Here's Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And they show you something you've never fucking seen before. And you go, holy shit, that game looks great. And then they're like, it comes out this holiday. Like, what? And then it comes out and it's perfect. And there's nothing wrong with it. And it just works. And everybody loves it. Wow. Game making must be real fucking hard at Nintendo.
Or you get a situation like Metroid, where like it was announced, you don't hear about it forever, and now it was announced again. Hey, it's going to come out within the next year.
Yeah,
but they don't give you a date, but you know it's still going to come.
The thing about Nintendo when it comes to mistakes is they recognize them and then ignore them, and they just pretend. They pretend like
they'll ignore it until they will say,
before.
And then sometimes they will. Like for example, they did come out and say they did apologize on Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
That was the one where they came out and said, you know what, we did announce that a little too early.
Well, and that was a lot of like pressure from a lot of people where it's like,
and part of that was
tell us.
Every single direct.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about? No, they would actually literally have to come out and then at some point every press
they put out a notice before
we will not talk about
we're not talking about Zelda. Like stop.
Yeah.
But
and now that's turned into we are not talking about Switch 2.
But then Microsoft will come out with like, check out this sweet dev thing. We've got 5 games in, and we've got Indiana Jones, and we've got Avowed, and we've got Visions of Mana shows up for some fucking reason, and then
and you go, oh, this is cool,
and then delayed. We're not talking about it now. It's on PlayStation. It's like, what the fuck was that the point of this thing?
And I should point out for a year. I should point out, and I didn't even say it, like, because part of it is, will it actually happen? But Indy did get dated here, December 9th. Is it actually going to hit December 9th? Which is a Monday, by the way. It's really weird.
Given the history of everything that's ever happened with Microsoft, no, it will not come out that time.
I think it's delayed till February. I'm still in that boat.
Could it come out in December? Sure. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Because, to go back to that second email you read,
mm-hmm.
I'm close to just selling my Xbox and putting everything into PlayStation. Like, who's buying one? Remember, we've talked about it a couple times. Indiana Jones was a game I would consider buying an Xbox for if I didn't have another option.
Exactly, yeah.
I was the target audience to sell this game on your console. And now you've told me that all I have to do is wait 6 months to not spend $500?
And now I would tell you your next game after that would be Perfect Dark. What is there to say that game will not come to PS5?
I don't know.
Nothing.
It's a rare game, and guess... no, it's not rare. It's not rare anymore. Sorry, it was a rare title. No.
Still.
But Sea of Thieves is a rare title. That's on another console. Yeah. It's the same level. It's the same level of like second/third party.
Well, that's the thing I argued in my video is like, they like to put out this like, oh, everything's changing in the industry. It's like, no, only one walled garden has come down, and it's yours.
It's yours.
Because it had to. Sony's garden is still up. Nintendo's is still up.
Sony's garden is still up when it comes to fucking cross-play.
Yeah.
They barely allow that.
They're just starting to put their games out on PC, and they're still putting
But they're locking them as like PlayStation games on PC
mm-hmm.
and locking it down.
Exactly.
So Microsoft is the one that's having to give in when
they are.
If you go back 2 console generations, they were crushing Sony.
Yeah.
The 360 versus the PS3, and people can choose to believe whatever they want, but as someone who worked during those console launches and the entire life of those systems in a video game store, the PS3 was nowhere close.
In North America, it was nowhere close.
Well, but
worldwide,
but we're talking about
caught up at the end.
Microsoft being a North American company, and they destroyed them out of the gate.
Even at the end, like working, because I came in at GameStop at the very tail end of 360 up until the PS4, and I can tell you in the beginning, like it was all 360 reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would you get a couple PS3 versions of stuff getting reserved, and it usually be weird JRPGs that were not on
stuff that don't exist on Sony stuff.
Like if it was a multi-platform thing, it was 100% 360.
Well, and that's the thing is I owned a 360 for that. I owned a PS3 to play PS3 games. And then, exactly. And then in the Xbox One PS4 days, I'll be honest, I tried to be an Xbox person out of the gate, and there were games I liked, like Dead Rising and stuff, but it slowly became, I'll just get it for PS4 if it's on both.
Yeah.
And
no, it's I went the same way. And the other thing that kind of pushed it for me in that generation was having that year of, oh, here's a PS4 Pro.
Right.
But no Xbox equivalent. And then they did finally do the Xbox equivalent. It was fine, but I still kind of was more on the PlayStation boat by the end of that generation.
And then this generation is just like,
you've been PS5 the whole time.
Microsoft didn't give me a reason.
There's no reason. Yeah, that's it. There's no reason. Like my reasons, obviously, like the ecosystem and everything.
Sure.
But
like, by the time we've hit this, like I was out on Halo. Gears barely exists. Forza, I'm not into racing stuff that much. Like, but if I wanted to play
I would want to play the Horizon games.
Yeah, or RPGs are better on PlayStation. They just are. Like
the traditional JRPGs that you want to play.
Yes, there were more of them.
I think Avowed would be. I would argue Avowed would probably have been another good argument for an Xbox.
I would love to play Avowed.
It'll come to the PlayStation.
I would love to play Avowed, but
I think you'll get it on PlayStation.
I have no reason not to think that anymore. That's the crazy part. If you negotiated to that Indiana Jones wasn't going to be on there, and then now it is 6 months later, I have no reason not to believe that everything that's not Halo, Gears, or Forza will just be on there. And even then, you and I have talked about it a lot. Halo should just be on there. Put Master Chief Collection on there. Stop fucking around.
I'm shocked still. I thought for sure Gamescom would be where they'd be like, okay, here's Master Chief Collection.
It's such a huge title.
But it also could be the rumor that they are remaking the original Halo, and they're going to do that. I don't know if that's smart.
Either one works.
Yeah.
But Halo Master Chief Collections, it's an instant $70 sale on PS5
for everybody. Instant. Yeah. I would buy it.
I probably would too.
Even though I've virtually no reason for me.
I'm not a huge Halo guy, but I do love 1 and 2. So,
and I want,
we could play that.
And that's why I said in the video that I put out, like, this generation has been weird, where I have almost gravitated back towards playing a lot of stuff on PC to the point that, like, I'm looking at building my new PC in the spring, partially because, like, when we get to the end of next year, Windows 10 is no longer going to be supported.
Yeah.
Which I said, hey, that's crazy. And then realized it's been about 10 years.
It's been a long time for Windows 10.
Like, feels like it's been a blink, but yeah. So I'm at that point where I'm probably going to have to
deal with some of that stuff at work. And it's like, God, Windows 10 is.
It's been 10 years.
Very old.
And I'm like, well, you know what? I just did this video card. I'm not going to buy a new video card. I'll just use the same one that I just got. So might as well just do it. So I just do it a year earlier. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But yeah, like any of these Xbox releases at this point, like I've just been treating them as PC, like Avowed. Well, you just told me I'll play it at PC at launch.
That's the other thing they're quote unquote shooting themselves in the foot with. I don't even need an Xbox to play Xbox games.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like you can just play it on PC.
At this point, it almost makes more sense for them to just do the handheld and release everything on PC.
Kind of.
And PlayStation.
Kind of. But yeah, it's what a fucked up place they're in.
Well,
it's not even the holiday season yet.
It's crazy too because you talk about in this email. I think Xbox knows the direction, but they don't want to tell us. I don't think they do. I don't think they do because everything keeps changing constantly, all the time. They can't commit to almost anything anymore.
No, they can't.
And it's strange because they'll tell me about games years in advance, but they won't even talk about. Yeah, we're thinking about a handheld. Why wouldn't you even just put that out there yourselves and be like, we're thinking about a handheld, and then just do like one of those dumbass things companies do. It's like, well, what would you like to see in a handheld? And just get some stupid field research from people who want it. Like, I don't know if they have a clear direction because they're always working on everything. They're working on the cloud system thing still, which how far ahead or behind is that? Who knows?
Agreed.
But they're always doing something, but it always seems to be it never reaches the full potential, and it ends up just biting them in the ass.
It does.
Because what is the direction for the next console? Because I can tell you right now, PlayStation has a direction for the next console. It's called the PlayStation 6, and it's more powerful than what this is. The Xbox, who the fuck knows what that thing is?
I don't know. Like, I don't know what the direction is. I don't know what their vision is anymore. I couldn't tell you because the vision just keeps changing every day. So it's such a weird thing to me now when I look at it. And like, this is where we're at in this we're just at this weird point where it's like, at this point, I'd almost be happier if they just went third party and said, fuck it.
Yeah,
we're Sega.
And I think the kind of thing was when Sega did it, you were kind of sad. Because it's like, wow, dude, Sega died.
I would be sad because it's weird that I wouldn't have that ecosystem anymore, and I do think that there needs to be competition.
Yeah, it would make the PlayStation stuff worse than it is now, because remember, PlayStation isn't God either. They changed the price of Plus and introduced these tiers, and
It will only get
It'll
worse.
only get worse if Microsoft doesn't exist, if Xbox as a console doesn't exist. Even if they make the games for PC, it'll only get worse for you if this is the only major console left, because we know the Switch is not one. It makes PlayStation a dangerous thing if they are now in charge.
I would say, like, Microsoft will obviously put out another system. They're going to do this handheld, but after that, I don't know what happens.
I think I think there's one more. I think it's a diskless version of a more powerful system. I think that if there is a plan, that seems like the plan, where it's a fucking the size of an Ouya. Who knows? But but there's no reason for them to have a disc in it. Again, they want to be the media thing. That was the whole point of the Xbox One. We're the one thing you need. Because again, you do need something that launches Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. If you don't have a smart TV that just does that like I do. So they want to be something, but disk drive is irrelevant to them. They should just make
they're literally putting out that white Xbox Series X all digital in October, along with the 2 terabyte Galaxy Series X that's like, what, $600?
Well, wouldn't you rather, you'd gladly give up a disk drive if it meant you got more storage space? For them.
Next generation. Yeah. Next generation.
Because again, the point of them is Game Pass. It's not buying physical discs.
Yeah. I would tell you, next generation, I've succumbed to the fact that at least for Microsoft, it'll be diskless. Right.
I think PlayStation, fine. You get one Another more generation of you could do either or.
Yeah. But I also think that they will go the route of you have to buy that separately.
Yeah,
for the PS6,
I can see that. like they're doing now.
Yeah, that's what I think they're gonna do.
Yeah.
So wild.
A lot of bad Microsoft stuff again.
They just seem to keep going off the path, hitting all them rakes. So, obviously, I think we talked about maybe a couple weeks ago the guy that played the narrator in the Dark Pictures anthologies. Like, he passed away, the actor.
Oh yeah,
but they have announced a new Dark Pictures game. They are not gonna. They're getting away from being annual releases. But what's interesting about this one, I don't think it'll have the narrator. I think they're getting away from that because that guy passed away. This one is sci-fi, futuristic, called Directive 8020. So
that's cool.
I don't believe it is set for this year. I think it's next year.
Probably.
But yeah, like that's a pretty wild and crazy direction. I did not play the last one that came out, which I think was The Devil in Me or something. I think was the last one they put out.
Yeah, that sounds right. I haven't played any of them.
Directive 8020 is the latest standalone entry in the horrifying world of the Dark Pictures. In a dramatic step forward for the series, the game features real-time threats, all new stealth gameplay mechanics. I don't know about this part of it. 5-player online co-op.
What is that?
And an enhanced interactive cinematics powered by Unreal Engine 5. I don't know. I guess it has co-op. Yeah. Almost seems like it has kind of like a Dead Space vibe. I
think the last one or two had co-op too, but I don't know if they had 5 players.
Not 5. It's just another player.
Weird.
So, set for release in 2025 for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Important to point out, Series X and PS5.
Oh, weird.
Not PS4 and
not last gen. Yeah,
not last gen. So, but cool that they're doing that. My hotly most anticipated release of the fall, the Dead Rising remake, I refuse to call that game a remaster. It's a remake.
Yeah, it's it's weird. It's somewhere in between those, but yes, you're right.
It looks incredible. They have finally revealed the new voice of Frank West, an actor named I'm probably gonna butcher his name, Jas Patrick. He has done voice work for other games like Genshin Impact, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the anime. He did something in the 2023 anime version of Rurouni Kenshin. So he's done a lot of anime. I mean, obviously Genshin Impact. So you know what? Speaking of Genshin Impact, I didn't put this in here, but that's finally coming to Xbox in November.
That's
pretty crazy.
It's a little late considering.
I might try again.
That's a little late considering we're already on the 3rd Hoyoverse game, and that's the first one. But okay.
This guy's most known video game voice work is actually from Octopath Traveler 2.
Oh, Interesting.
Voiced a character named Partitio.
Cool.
So I've only played the first one. So first one, great game. I should play this.
I need to play the second one too. Those games are really good.
First teaser trailer revealed that TJ Rotolo, the original lead actor for Frank West, was not voicing the character. Rotolo revealed to a fan on Instagram afterwards that he was not reprising the role of the deluxe remaster simply because Capcom did not contact him. So, whatever. I still maintain the theory the reason they're doing this is because there is something else in the works. And they want this guy to voice him.
You would think
so. And I also think that's why, if you look at everything else, like there's no other character that we've seen in these trailers that has been completely redesigned like Frank West for this. Everybody else pretty much looks the same, except for there is a little scuttle about that one. Do you remember the boss in the basement, the butcher? It was like a Chinese butcher.
Vaguely.
Okay, he's no longer Asian in this game. He's a white dude now.
Sure.
Because people have brought that up. I'm like, well, whatever. Like, that's not that. To me, I don't care. I don't think that's a big deal. But yeah, everybody else, if you look at the screenshots, everything that they put out, everybody else looks the same. So if you're making Frank West look and sound different, I think you do that because you're working.
Because you want to go forward with him. Yes.
Yeah. Agreed. So, we've talked about Microsoft and their latest blunders, but we wouldn't be complete with talking about the other side of the fence big blunder.
Yeah.
Which is their hot. You got to keep this in mind. This is one of their big releases of the year for PlayStation.
It definitely is.
And that is Concord. So Concord has released as of it was Friday. It's past Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what, to be fair, we don't know what the player count is on PlayStation. We don't have a way to really gauge that, but we have a way to gauge it on Steam, which as of this recording, it has not surpassed 697 concurrent players.
That is very low.
It has also come to light. This game took 8 years to develop and put out there.
That's not as surprising of a fact to me as some other stuff, but
8 years for a hero shooter.
But considering like the cinematics and all the shit they have overproduced for this game, that's not as crazy as a thought as I would initially think. It's still a very long time to put out an Overwatch clone. Like I told you, my favorite thing. What you want about the game? It's an Overwatch clone. We all know it is. It's clear.
I told you my favorite thing where the games journalists that are playing the game are having troubles getting matches at level 10 or higher because there's no one else playing the game at that level.
That's great.
So they just sit.
Hilarious.
And wait, like no one is fucking playing this game.
Proves the game is imbalanced.
The game's not balanced. It proves that when this came out, and again, before I knew anything about the game, because we didn't know anything about it until that part.
We had gotten one small thing about remember they had that thing moving through a ship, and it just said Concord.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, I'm interested to see.
The visuals look good.
Yeah, and then they put out. I'm like, okay, it looks a little Guardians of the Galaxy like, but like this could be cool. And then it was revealed what it was.
It's a PvP fight. And
oh man, no, not what I want.
Immediately not interested. But so here's the problem with this game, though.
I would have predicted this though.
700 people. We'll just say 700 people.
Yeah.
In 4 months, that Marvel Rivals comes out in December. Mm-hmm. Even if that game isn't better. Even if it's the same, it will do better than this does.
It's also on everything, though.
Correct.
It's on Xbox,
that
it's on
helps,
PlayStation.
But it's also got the word Marvel in the title. Automatically, it does well, at least to start. Where does that leave Concord in 4 months?
I've already told you my prediction, and I'm sticking to it, which is I think Concord, you get two to 3 seasons, depending on however long they make their seasons. For whatever they're doing for seasonal content.
They put out that little roadmap thingy.
Oh, did they?
They did. They put out a little roadmap thingy that had stuff highlighted, and then April was blocked off.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say they have this planned out.
Did we get to April?
So let's say they have it. They have this mapped out till April, right? I still say February is my timeline for when you're going to get the announcement that it's the PlayStation Plus game of the month that they're going to give out. because that is going to be the last ditch effort to try and drum up some audience to play this game for the content that they have to even justify if they go further.
They'll have to compensate.
Could that
people
happen
who bought
earlier? Now, could that happen earlier? Possibly. And if that is the case, I think that the other place I would put it would be December, right as this Marvel game comes out. Because they want to, I mean, obviously, these people already know. Look at this weekend. Look at the numbers. Look at what it sold. There's no way it is not humanly possible in any way that this game will compete with that Marvel Rivals game.
It can't.
It's not possible. So I would think at this point,
especially
that there are already conversations about when do we put this on Plus.
Especially because Marvel Rivals is free to play.
The only reason why I say February is because you risk the people on that, obviously on Steam as well, but you risk the people that did buy in at $40.
Well, that's the thing.
What do you do?
That's
then?
what I said. They'd have to compensate you.
Is that number low? Sure. But
they'd have to give you in-game money. They'd have to give you Founders Pack or skin, something to prove that you were there ahead of time.
Yeah.
Something. Because if you don't, then that just puts an even bigger stain on you're dying and you have to do this. And the other thing is, like, what happens when this game dies? Does Sony even acknowledge it, or do they just say whatever and they just leave it behind?
The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure I read that the studio that made this Firewalk, I want to say they just bought.
They did.
Okay. What do they do with this studio when this fails?
Well, I'm sorry, that's now a Horizon studio.
I was gonna say it's got to just become a support studio.
That's a Naughty Dog studio. That's what I meant to say.
I was gonna say maybe they roll it in to help with Destiny 3 because it's a multiplayer studio.
That's good.
But like, I feel like this is shuttered, and it's a thing where we get to E3 time next year, we don't talk about Concord. It didn't happen. That's what I think. But I still, the only reason why I'm clinging to February is because, again, I think it takes time to put those things in place and to come up with those ideas of like, well, what do we do for the people that did buy this game? Because it is important to remember this is not a free to play game. It's $40, or $50 if you bought into this couple day early.
That's even worse.
There's at
who
least
are you playing
five
against?
People that did that.
All five people.
Exactly.
It's just a shame because they had a chance to get ahead of it and market it what it was before they came out with this secret trailer that then turned it into this game. And remember, Sony already has other games like this coming. Remember, I know you're excited for Fair Games. And
do you think that the failure of this game puts those other ones in jeopardy?
I don't know if it helps. Like, Foam Stars is not doing good. That's not a Sony. It's not a Sony game, but it's a Sony game.
I always forget about that one.
But like, that ain't doing good.
But like Fair Games, like I have to imagine they're looking at that thing and going, "Do we even put this out?
I think it comes out, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything behind it."
Yeah.
I'm just pulling up the roadmap here. So the season 1 starts in October.
Okay.
Season 2 is in January, and then April is like off the thing where you can't see it. But it's just, and what season 1 adds 1 new character, a new map, quality of life upgrades.
So season 2 is January.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll move my prediction up to January.
Season 2.
I think it's season 2 is where you get because at that point you've already gotten a month, because I think Marvel Rivals is like December 5th or something like that. So you've got a month to get Marvel Rivals is out. Obviously, we'll see big numbers for that game because it's a Marvel game.
And it's free.
And it's free to play. And then I think January is when you go, okay, we're putting out on Plus to get you ready for season 2.
But don't worry, season 1 and season 2, you get new vignettes.
Wonderful.
I know you're waiting for this. I know you're waiting.
All these great characters.
They're all hard at work on the vignettes right now. Shit, dude! Like,
what a failure!
I just knew. I think real people knew when they saw that trailer. Like, this is DOA, and
we said it when we watched it. I didn't predict it to be this dead on arrival, but we both said it when we saw. Like, who's this for? Who's excited about a pay to play?
In a world where Overwatch went free. You had to pay for Overwatch in the start, and it went free.
Yeah.
But I think the other important thing to note is, like, you and I and a lot of people predicted this was going to be a failure. long before any of the DEI bullshit started popping off about this game too.
And that's the important thing to note too, is like, even if you remove, because I see a lot of people put out like, oh, it's because of the DEA stuff.
I don't think it's because of that.
Remove that from it. I'm sure there are some people that refuse to play because of that, but remove that aspect of it. It still would not draw people in, because by nature of what it is,
right? There
are games that are already doing this that people are attached to.
Yeah.
You can't break into this market unless you are.
DEI bullshit is why people aren't playing this. When you have a game like Overwatch,
which also has that
has plenty of representations of everything, including animals, and like everybody's like, well, this game has aliens, you can't do that. Overwatch has a fucking hamster in a ball. Like, don't give me this bullshit about human males.
Back.
Like, none of this shit matters.
They went back and rewrote a character through a comic.
Yes.
To fit that narrative.
And you know what?
Like in Overwatch.
Do you want to know something about Overwatch? I don't remember that ever being talked about at Overwatch. About any of these characters.
That's the thing too. Like when you play Overwatch, you just play the matches. It's not like those people are shouting that stuff at you.
But I don't remember that even being a thing, because I think it was like you were talking about Tracer, right? Isn't that what they did with Tracer?
No, it is
Soldier 76 too.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that being a thing people gave a shit about.
No, nobody cared.
Right.
The only thing people, like I said, the only thing people did was they snickered at it, because they're like, that's kind of weird, that they did it in a comic. But like, did it affect people from playing the game? No.
But you can't. But like, I do see some arguments about Concord. It's like, haha, DEI loses against. This is just a bad game. It doesn't have anything to do with that. There are people that will avoid it because of that. Sure.
But it is like 90% because people did not want.
They're just not interested in this game.
Yeah. So. I just it's stunning how much this has failed. I didn't predict it to be like it is. To me, I am as shocked that this game is as big of a failure as I am shocked at how big of a success Black Myth Wukong is. It's been a week of two very different extremes. Here's this other game where I'm like, yeah, this Black Myth Wukong game, it'll be mildly successful. Most successful game of the year. Like, this is it may be bigger than Hogwarts Legacy last year.
Stellar Blade.
Yeah, right?
Right.
And then on the other opposite end of the spectrum, to this game to be the biggest disaster of the year in terms of sales, in terms of people playing it. Like, just, boy, would have never predicted. Concord. Yeah, we'll continue to keep an eye on the situation with that game, because I'm thinking January.
Here's Concord. Here's the Push Square review, because I haven't read it before now. I'm just skipping to the bottom just because. He gave it a 7 out of 10. I'll read you the pros and the cons. Pros: some pretty cool characters. High budget presentation. No shit. Impeccable sound design. No shady microtransactions. Okay.
Yeah.
Cons: some pretty crap characters. Not especially original. An uncertain future. And lore adds very little to experience. Yeah. So the cons are literally like lore adds very, very little to experience. That's the thing they're going so hard on. Here's these little backstories about all stuff, and it adds nothing to the game. Then why does it exist? Who cares?
If the reviews are coming out and they're saying that that's a big aspect of it, part of the game's failure, if I were Sony, I'd be pulling the budgets on those extra vignettes. Yeah.
And like to say that some of the characters are good and some are bad, gee, that sounds like every multiplayer game with pre-made characters I've ever heard of. But not especially original, that's bad. Because especially when you're comparing it to a game that came out when I still worked at GameStop, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then I laugh because the reviewer posts the first comment in the box, and it just immediately says, "I'm not sure how this comment section is going to go." And
that's good. That's good.
I'll probably skim that tomorrow at work. But I guarantee there's going to be a lot of blocked and deleted comments in this thing somewhere.
Yeah, there is,
because they love to take that stuff out and ban people on Push Square.
Okay,
but I think the other problem with this game, this is the last thing we'll say before we move on, is I think Sony saw Helldivers and saw like, holy shit,
and they pushed
a weird like one-off thing can blow up like this, and in 6 months we're releasing something else. Let's fucking go for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oops.
I think that's exactly what
Helldivers exists because people like democracy and killing giant bugs as a team.
Helldivers is as successful as it is because everybody from our generation loves Starship Troopers.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
And wanted a good Starship Troopers game, and they made the best one.
To be fair, I have not even played the Starship Troopers game yet. That's something I'd like to buy if it was like $10.
I think there's one coming out.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
I thought it was out. Is it not out?
There's one coming out.
All right, whatever. I'll pay $10.
But it has a single player aspect to it.
I'll pay $10.
And I do want to play. I think it's in October.
Okay. So I thought it was.
I want to play it.
Maybe I was thinking something else.
There is another game out that's like I think it's only on Steam, but it's like a strategy game.
Maybe that's what
it's not what you think. But the one that you're thinking of is on its way out. It's not out yet.
I'm looking it up.
While you're looking that up, I'll mention.
Oh, it's early access on Steam.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Time Splitters. They released the trilogy of Time Splitters games on PlayStation 5. It's the PS2 to PS4, PS5 versions of the game. They don't have any trophies, which is why you and I were immediately out.
I'll wait.
Because I have a way to play at least Time Splitters 2 and Future Perfect on Xbox, so I don't need to rebuy those if they don't have trophies. That is my draw to buy the games on PlayStation.
Right. And
at this point.
I otherwise I would buy them and play them let's say I knew they were never going to get trophies. So they just come out and said, we're not doing it. It's not going to happen. Then I'd probably buy them and play them. But it's weird because I don't want to play them twice to just get trophies.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they're going to update them in the future, which we've seen happen with other releases like this. So I'll just wait.
I laugh too because this is a good thing. They did for some reason, Push Square decided to do a review of Time Splitters 2 and gave it a 6 out of 10. But I feel like the review is rating it against 2024 and not when the game came out. Because
it's a little weird, yeah.
It says aiming feels dreadful. Yeah, dude, it's a PS2 FPS that was based off of the GoldenEye engine. Yeah, it's going to feel fucking weird.
It's going to be a little weird,
and visually has not aged too well. The game is 20 years old. And then the final thing, lacking without nostalgia. Yeah, why do you think they released the PS2 version of a PS5 for $10? This isn't a game you're just browsing it and you've never played Time Splitters before. Oh, I'll pick up Time Splitters 2. That's not who this is for. It's for me.
No.
It's for you. I get a 6 out of 10 is probably a fair review, but come on. It's a $10 port of a PS2 game, man. Pump the brakes a tiny bit.
Shocking that it did not happen, but Death Stranding 2, everybody thought was going to get this big blowout at the Keighley thing, obviously because it's Jeff Keighley. It's not. It's getting a huge blowout next month at TGS. So he's going to have different actors there. He's going to have a big presentation. I assume this is where we'll get a window for a release. I don't know if they'll come out and say.
Do you think this is going to be like that one Death Stranding presentation where it's just 3 fucking hours of him talking and they had that girl on stage and they were talking about all this weird shit in it? Remember that one? That was so bizarre, but it was really funny.
I think so.
Yeah.
This is what I would say.
That was that's what I hope. Such a weird, cool presentation about
that's what I hope.
Breaking down every system in this game. Yeah. When nobody knew what it was.
Well, also, how many other people have used that Decima engine besides Horizon and Death Stranding? I think that's it.
I don't think
anybody else has used it, which is kind of crazy.
That engine,
now that I think about it,
very good.
Yeah,
and especially because it's made for PlayStation, it's incredible.
Yeah, so I don't know, it's weird, but I look forward to that. That'll be end of September. And then finally, I threw this in here. This was news from today. Apparently, all across Gamescom, the developers are just openly talking about PS5 Pro. Seems like it's imminent. I've said before, I think we've said before, it feels like we'll probably get some sort of showcase thing in September.
Yeah.
Announcing it for a November release.
They'll do that thing where they cut the screen in half and they'll be like, this is Horizon running on a PS5. This is Horizon running on a PS5 Pro.
Unless they delay it until spring, which I could also see.
I think you want it out by holiday, right? Because then you can drop the price of the current one.
Yes, but also at the same time, what game are you there's no game to sell this for.
And that's why here's Horizon running on a PS5, here's Horizon running on a PS5 Pro, here's Concord running on a PS5.
There you go. What a selling
point. Here's Skull and Bones running on a PS5
There you go.
They'll do something like that.
They'll do something.
Yeah, they don't have a major game.
They haven't announced anything.
So what could you
as far as games? Astrobot. It's your big game.
That's next week.
Yeah, September 6th.
What else could you reasonably show? Final Fantasy 16 would be a good one to be
I think that'd be a good one to say. This is
on
how it's been improved.
Right. Rebirth.
Rebirth would be another good one.
God, imagine Rebirth on a Pro.
Yeah.
Shit, dude. How powerful this Pro thing is. That could be amazing.
I would go back to Final Fantasy 16 for a Pro.
16 would be. Yeah, I would finish it up and do the DLC finally.
Yeah.
Rebirth would probably get me to go finish Rebirth too if it looks a little bit better. I'm interested. I'm like, it's long enough. I'm interested in the concept of a Pro. It's not a secret.
I'm at the point where like I'm more okay with it than I thought it would be, but we've also been talking about it for so fucking long.
We've been talking about it for a year.
So yeah, so it's like just announce the dumb thing. Tell me when it's coming out. I will figure it out and get it and be done.
Yeah.
So, it'll probably push me even further, like the PS4 Pro did, to play more games on the PlayStation anyway. So
right.
But yeah, no, that is our last news announcement. I will throw in here. I just put in here for, GameStop idiot moves of the week. The social media stuff is still off the rails. You brought up an interesting thing right before we started recording.
My hot take fan theory. What if it's just Chewie himself?
Yeah, which
he thinks he's cool and hip. You think he wouldn't want to get on here and just fuck around and make fun of customers and stuff?
Yeah.
The craziest thing that he did, the last post they did on Facebook on Friday was them just posting their own Twitter post.
I didn't.
It's a picture of their Twitter post. It's the one that says weird. Like, nobody will remember online stores, digital downloads, game subscriptions. People will remember the midnight releases.
I did send that.
Picking up a new pre-order, inserting the disc for a first time. Yeah, maybe from 10 years ago. Like, midnight releases aren't a thing. They were barely a thing by the time we left.
Yeah.
I went to the quote-unquote midnight release for college football.
Oh, yeah.
There were 3 of us, and it was at 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'll remember that till I die because it fucking sucked. Is that what you want?
Well, that's also the same thing when it comes to, like, movies. Like, nobody puts a movie out at midnight anymore.
Midnight isn't a thing anymore. I remember midnights being a real thing at midnight.
Yeah.
This is like, even the Game Crazy days. I remember... He's right to a certain extent. I will remember certain midnights, but I'm not going to remember them because of GameStop or because of games releasing in 2024. I remember Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, or fucking maybe even Vice City. Vice City.
I remember
midnight.
San Andreas
and San Andreas midnight being insane at my Game Crazy, out the door, around the block. And
I remember San Andreas. I remember 4, and I remember 5.
Yeah.
I don't want to remember 5, but I do.
But I do remember other ones, like from when we worked, like Borderlands 2. That was a huge one.
That was a big one.
Right, even Resident Evil 6 was a big one. And because
Resident Evil 6
know ahead of time that Resident Evil 6 wasn't as good as Resident Evil 5.
The Call of Duties of that era were always big.
Halos of that era.
Halo Reach.
Halo
Reach was insane.
Nuts.
Halo 3 ODST was insane.
Smash Brothers
being one.
But I'm not going to remember that because of what's happening now. Like, this is supposed to make me feel what about GameStop? Nostalgia?
Can I tell you a sad one from that era?
Yeah.
The first Batman Arkham game.
I wasn't there, right? No, I was.
No, you were not
at your store. I was at the first one.
It was the Batman Arkham Midnight was just me picking my game up because it was unproven. But it was unproven at the time.
But I want to. I want to say I was at 2649 at the time, and I want to say we were pretty fucking busy.
And then
something else came out that day.
Arkham City was huge.
Something else came out Arkham Asylum Day too. I want to.
Did it?
Yeah, I want to say so.
But yeah, Arkham Asylum for me, it was just me. I still have the poster somewhere for like I took, and that was before I worked at the store that we worked at, but I have like the midnight, like it was a special midnight poster they put on the door. I still have that.
I remember when you would have weird multi-release nights. Remember, like the biggest one ever was Portal Combat? Because it was Portal, that was a big one. Mortal Kombat, and I think SOCOM,
which obviously
died
was killed by the blackout.
PS Plus, but that was 3 huge games all on the same day, and you would get people who bought all 3 of them.
I remember we bring it up a lot, but I remember the Dead Island Midnight was a huge one.
Oh,
that game had well,
that was a lot of people. I had to be like, sorry. Later.
Sorry, you didn't reserve it. No.
So, like, yes, I will remember that, but that's also GameStop from 12 years ago. That's not from today.
That's also pre the era of you can just buy it digitally.
Right.
And it was accepted. Like, and that era of like, yeah, you could buy some of those games digitally on the 360 store, but people weren't ready for that.
It wasn't a thing. Like, people didn't do that.
Yeah.
But
well, it wasn't. We weren't there.
No, but like that's one of his, his great posts. What he had the one before. He did one of those things where my parents at age 29, let's have a baby. Me at age 29, check out my new Pokemon card, showing off a PSA graded Pokemon card. Like, this is just, remember, we talked about it. Like, it's probably making them money right now, but it's just another thing in the get rich quick line of things.
It is 100%.
Net 10, Cricket, iPods, iPhones.
Yeah, you name it.
Again,
how many?
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with taking back iPods and iPhones. We should have done it, but we should never have sold them in stores. It made no sense.
Absolutely,
it should have all just been like, we take them all in, we check them in the store, wipe them in the store, ship them all out, and you can buy them online from like the pool of everything. But sending me iPhone 3GSs in 2014 didn't make a lot of sense.
No, it didn't do anything.
So it's just like, it's another thing on the list. Crypto, NFTs about people jumping out of the World Trade Center, whatever. Like, doesn't really stick around.
Not a good idea.
It's just, I don't know. Like, we talk about it a lot, and we'll move on. But I don't know what the way back for this company is anymore. And it's not.
There isn't one.
But the thing is, it's like, it's not even necessarily their fault anymore. It's just the future doesn't exist for them.
Yeah.
The future only exists for trading cards and trying to get more of this stuff in, and doubling down on carrying retro stuff. And like, they're trying to do this stuff with these retro stores, but now they're even trying to advertise, like, see if there's a retro store in your area, because they're doing that thing where they're sending it all to one place. But I'll tell you that my friend who runs a store that is a retro store is getting stuff from other stores, and gee, wouldn't you know it, it's a lot of like beat up shit, fake DS games, fake Game Boy Advance games, and all this other crap. And I told him, I'm like, if that were me and I was designated the retro store, and they sent me a fake Pokemon Heart Gold, I would do the thing we did with RSPs. I wouldn't receive it, or I'd send it back. Yeah. This isn't going to be my problem. It's your problem.
Yeah.
So they're trying to advertise retro stores. How can you even do that when you can't control the retro product you have? Yeah.
It's not.
I don't know what the path forward is, but it's, follow them on social media and maybe you'll find out.
See what next unhinged post is made.
They'll do something else. Something stupid.
They'll do something. Yeah. We can kick over to movies. We can. So obviously, since the last time I recorded, I have seen Alien Romulus.
Ooh.
Which we'll talk about. I put up my short video review on it, and I actually had someone insinuate that I was paid.
Quite possibly my favorite thing that you told me.
My favorite thing, like my channel of 500 plus subscribers, but I was paid to give Romulus a 9 out of 10.
It's a Sony movie, right? Columbia Pictures, I think. So it's Sony?
No, it's Disney. Disney owns 20th Century Fox.
Disney, you're right. So yeah, Disney definitely paid you to talk about Disney. Aliens.
Definitely. Yeah. Me who's so not critical of Disney all the time. Exactly. They paid me. So yeah, we saw Alien Romulus opening day. Did not get the popcorn bucket. I found out later that as far as the popcorn bucket goes, that at least the Regal cinemas, they just sold them when they got them in, which was like a week early. Yeah. And people just bought them right away.
Well, that's why I told you, like, you can just get them online for $200.
Yeah, my girlfriend bought like the drink that came with the little xenomorph on top, so I have that. But and they didn't even have that other thing that had like the face hugger on it, so they were sold out of that too. But whatever. I have a cup. The cup's kind of shitty in comparison to the like when we went and saw Deadpool. Like she got a really cool cup that has like a hologram, and like it's pretty nice.
Well, even that Ghostbusters cup was nice.
Was nice. This Romulus cup is already beat up after like being washed 2 times. But anyways, as far as the movie goes, I thought it was fantastic. I didn't really have too much like negative about it. Without spoiling it, like there are certain things about it, like sure you can rag on, like I think the thing that my girlfriend brought up, and I will agree with, is like it seems like no matter how many times we make these movies, they all end identical, which is how do you get rid of the final thing at the end? You shoot it out into space.
Well, yeah, I mean, where else is it going to go?
Exactly, like that's what happens here, more or less. They do get into an interesting territory at the end of this movie. I'll also say, like, I went into this because knowing the person that directed this is the guy that directed the Evil Dead remake, which is pretty fucking graphic, and Don't Breathe, which is also pretty fucking graphic, expecting this to be over the top, and I found it relatively like tame.
I heard it wasn't as crazy as you would have thought.
It's not as crazy. Yeah. Like even the scene where you get your chest burster scene really wasn't that big of a deal. One of the coolest things they do in the movie is they do this thing with anti-gravity where they're stuck in a hallway and there's a bunch of xenomorphs coming, and she has like this auto shooter gun from the Colonial Marines, so she can shoot them all. But again, what's the big problem with shooting the xenomorphs? Acid blood. Right. And if it goes through the hull, everybody's getting blown out into space, right? So what they do is they hit the anti-grav thing and they shoot all them. So then they have to float through an anti-grav and avoid the acid blood, which is a really cool sequence. Yeah. Like that was a really cool sequence. Like, okay, this is something new. They do something new at the end of this movie, which I won't spoil. And I think that's where some people maybe will turn and be like, I don't know. They do also make the one other sin, which prompted me to make a different video on my YouTube channel, which was, I don't understand what people want out of this franchise in 2024. Because I walked out of this movie, it gave me exactly what I went in wanting to see, right? Like, I was happy. I came out as an Alien fan, like, yes, another one of these, please. But they do the cardinal sin in this movie, which is they acknowledge Prometheus. They acknowledge Alien Covenant. Not in a huge way, but just the fact that they acknowledge the black goo from Prometheus is enough to get those people upset, because the people out there that hate Prometheus really fucking hate that movie for some reason that I don't understand, because I love that movie. So, but at the end of the day, it gave me exactly what I wanted out of an Alien movie. I loved all the practical effects. If you're a fan of the face huggers, there are more face huggers in this movie than all of the other Alien movies combined. They really go hard in that department of this. It's fantastic. It has a lot of tension. I'll also say the guy in this movie that plays the android, phenomenal actor, because he starts the movie playing the android as like a child, and then like he has this, child mentality of like he has the mannerisms of like somebody that's like 10 years old, right? Because that's how he's programmed. Then they put a chip in him at some point, and it completely changes how he acts, and all of a sudden he is like super smart and super like, and so the way that guy has to change his entire personality is pretty impressive. And I think the main chick in this movie is a pretty good actress as well. So do they do the thing that you expect in this movie? Like, do they say famous lines from other Alien movies like "die you bitch" and stuff like that? Sure,
of course.
That's just fan service, which I also saw people trying to use as an argument like, well, they stole that. I'm like, that's not stealing, that's called fan service.
Right.
Like, I don't understand the hatred for those last Alien movies. It also prompted me over the weekend to rewatch Prometheus and Alien Covenant. So last weekend, which I did, and I love both of those as well. So, but I'll say, like, especially going back right after and watching Alien Covenant is horrifically violent at times in comparison to this movie. Like it's very fucking violent, and this one is like, maybe that's the Disney in it. I don't know. But I had a good time with it. My only gripe, and has nothing to do with the acting, the story, or anything like that, for whatever reason, the first 20 minutes of this movie is incredibly dark and hard to see.
Oh, okay.
And then when they finally get on the spaceship and they go up and go to the space station they're going to, it's not that bad. But that first 20 minutes on the planet that they're on, it's really dark. And I'm like, is the movie supposed to look like this? And then it gets better. But I gave that a 9 out of 10. I had a blast. I'm looking forward to whenever that gets put up. I'll rewatch it right away. I watched finally because Matt had been bugging me about it, In a Violent Nature, which is the It is the slasher where you follow the slasher through the entire movie. It's I would tell you it's a 7 out of 10. It's fine. It's a unique premise. It is a little too long. You do have scenes of like, all right, I'm kind of tired of watching this dude walk through the woods to get to his next kill. Some of the kill, there's one kill, like he said, is horrifically violent. Like the way in which this person is murdered is really, really raunchy. But I like at the end of it, like I enjoyed it. It's unique. They're obviously making a sequel. It did well. I think if you're a fan of like Friday the 13th and stuff like that, which obviously, you know, I'm actually wearing Friday the 13th. Like I'm a huge fan. So it's good. It's worth watching. And then I watched arguably, I don't know if it'll be my most anticipated movie of the year, but one of them finally hit digital Friday. I got to watch it finally today, which is Long Legs, the big Nicolas Cage.
Weird.
Yeah. So I've seen Long Legs. I loved it, but I will also preface that by saying like this movie had arguably the best marketing campaign of any movie I've seen in recent memory. It both does and does not live up to that hype. It is not the movie. It is and is not the movie that's being advertised. Like if you're going into it thinking it's going to be this like creep fest, action packed, like a lot of what I would compare it to is Silence of the Lambs. That would be the biggest comparison I would say, except it's not, he doesn't eat people. It's not a cannibal. It is very slow burn. It's more of a mystery. I would say for people that love Netflix true crime documentaries will love this movie. Like that's the feel I got out of it. Nicolas Cage is not in it very much, but every scene he is in is incredibly impactful. I think he should be nominated. I don't know if he'll be nominated for Oscar, but I think he should for this. And what I like about it is like, and this will be weird to say about Nicolas Cage, he is unhinged, but it is a reserved unhinged Nicolas Cage because he for whatever reason, he has a good way of riding the line in this movie where like, if he went full Nicolas Cage and went over the board, it would be comical. Like you would be laughing, right? Like it's like, oh, it's fucking Nicolas Cage going nuts. He doesn't go that far with it. So he's the right line of like, it is an unhinged performance. He's very fucking weird, but it's not to the point where like you forget he's Nicolas Cage. Let's put it that way. And a lot of that is he wears this weird, like he has this weird prosthetic like face. So it doesn't look like Nicolas Cage in the movie. He's almost like, he has like a fascination with 70s glam rock, I guess is the easiest way to describe it, right? So like they play that one T-Rex song a couple times in the movie. The other part of it that's weird is like it has like an underlying like supernatural element to it, but it never really commits to it. It almost like it keeps you guessing like, was there a supernatural element to it or not? Which I don't want to spoil it, so I don't want to get to like spoilers of the movie because that definitely gets into that territory. Unfortunately the movie was spoiled for me before I saw it. So, but I will say for me, I had seen what the spoiler was for the movie. It only made me more interested in seeing the movie. So, I will say the scene that they did this thing. I think they did a great thing during the marketing was like, they never showed his face, right? That was a big thing about the marketing. He didn't show like his hands going over his face, stuff like that. They do show his face quite a bit in the movie, and it's pretty weird, but they don't do like an actual scene with him and the detective lady chasing him until towards the end of the movie. They have their final like confrontation like in a room. So, and like I said, it has like a weird supernatural undertone, but it's not like it's more of like you question like, is there something going on or is there not? And you're left to kind of wonder that as you watch the movie. Both great. The lady, the detective lady, she's really good in it too. I would say the best thing about it is it's very atmospheric. Okay. Like you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in this movie. Like it's very tension filled, very atmospheric, creepy music. But like that's as a horror fan, you're always looking for that next movie that, you know, you're always looking for and hoping for that next movie to be the one that gets you, that scares you. And for me, that was Hereditary. I haven't had a movie like that since. Longlegs is not that movie. So it did not, like, walking or being done with it, turning off, like, it's a little unnerved. It's a little unhinged. It makes you think at the end. You definitely think a lot at the end of that movie, but it didn't scare me. I wasn't like, where at the end of Hereditary, and I always use that as an example because that's the last one where I really was like, this is fucking terrifying. That was like, holy shit, what did I just watch? Where it bothered me for days. Like, that movie bothered me for days after I watched Hereditary. No movie's done that since. It's super weird. So I also gave Longlegs a 9 out of 10. I had a blast watching it. The funny thing is, like, I mentioned to my girlfriend this morning, because I watched half of it last night and I got really tired because of what's been going on this weekend. So I finished it today. But I even told her last night, I'm like, I don't think she would have cared for it. So, because it is a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of, like, putting the pieces of this mystery together. It's not action packed. There are parts of it that are fucking crazy. Like, I'll give you it's not really a big spoiler, but, like, so the beginning of that movie is they're looking for that guy. They're looking for Nicolas Cage. And so her and this other guy from the department, these two detectives, they go out to canvass this area, right? And he tells her, like, oh, you can just sit in the car. I'll do the first round. And she looks around and then she just points at one house. She's like, it's that house. And that's kind of how the rest of the movie plays, but it plays into how it ends. Because at first I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like this if she just knows everything,
right.
you know?
Yeah.
But what's fucked up is, so then they walk up to that house. Guy knocks on the door opens up. Just fucking gets shot in the head.
Oh, shit.
Dude's dead. And it's just like, so it, like, it's stuff like that where, like, it's very tension filled, but then things will happen very shockingly and suddenly. So, but I would say it's not a jump scare movie.
Okay.
So you would be fine.
Okay.
Is what I would say. It's not overly gory. The stuff that is shown is very quick. Like, you might see an axe hit somebody for 2 seconds.
Gotcha.
And then it's like, it's over. They don't play. They're not like, let's see everything. Like, it's not one of those. So it's not a torture porn movie. Let's put it that way. So, but I gave it a 9 out of 10. I loved it. It's one of my favorite movies of the year easily, but it is different than what I expected it to be. But that didn't necessarily bother me. So, only other thing I watched, I didn't put it on here. I still have Netflix. I didn't cancel. I'm going to hold on to it because I want to watch that Adam Sandler special.
Oh, yeah.
But this week, for whatever reason, I was flipping around on YouTube and he had an interview. He was on Joe Rogan. And I was like, I'll watch this because I want to see an interview with Adam Sandler just in present day. And the interview was interesting because they spent like 2 hours just talking about stand-up and about coming up in stand-up, right? And it was very funny and interesting. So that led me to watch the Joe Rogan stand-up special.
Oh, boy.
And it's fine. There were some parts of it that were pretty funny. There are parts of it that you're kind of like, whatever. You know, whatever your opinion may be on Joe Rogan. But his stand-up, it wasn't terrible. And the other thing I've forgotten about is that was broadcast live when it happened, which is kind of crazy. So I don't think the Adam Sandler one is. So, but I'm going to watch that. Adam Sandler's last stand-up special, which was also on Netflix, was very funny. Like, probably the best thing he's done in years. Like, even as someone who loves Adam Sandler and thinks most of his Netflix movies are garbage, like, there's a few here or there kind of shine through, but most of them are pretty bad. His stand-up special was pretty funny. So I have hopes that this new one will be pretty funny as well. That does it for me. You watch some... Speaking of Adam Sandler, we'll roll into you? Yeah, exactly. We'll roll it into...
So I was just bored looking for something to watch and scrolling through everything. And I've never watched Pixels. And I remember Matt had asked you to get it for him.
Yeah, I think
a couple weeks ago or whatever. So I was like, all right, I'll turn it on in the background while I'm grinding out some MLB The Show stuff. And I know that, like, the critical reception of it was pretty bad. And I know that a lot of people thought it was... I don't think it's terrible. I think as someone who loves old video games and likes Adam Sandler for the most part, it's pretty much exactly what you think you're going to get. Like, because it's Adam Sandler being Adam Sandler in the Sandlerverse. And
it is
a movie that makes no fucking sense, and you're just kind of along for the ride. Like, it was kind of fun to see, like, you know, a big Pac-Man and like Dog Kong.
It has
like,
more of a plot than like Grown Ups.
It actually has a plot. Like, there is something to it.
Doesn't have a plot.
No, this movie's plot is nonsensical, and there's plenty of like things happen because they have to, and MacGuffin's out the ass because like everything that we have a solution for everything. I don't think it's like the train wreck people think it is. It's definitely not. It's a Sandler movie. It falls somewhere directly in the middle of all of the stuff he's ever made.
Wasn't that the era where they were putting Josh Gad into everything? Pretty
much, where he kind of blew up for a while and he just showed up and anything they could think to put him in, and then they gave him a reason to sing a song and all that kind of shit. So yeah, he's there. Peter Dinklage is there. This character's just a shithead.
I kind of remember
Kevin James is the president. Fine, I guess. But the whole thing is just, it's just dumb. And then of course they do the thing where he meets the Michelle Monaghan, who just happens to be like the DARPA chief. It's just like, none of this makes any fucking sense of how it would actually work. But hey, I like her a lot, so she's there too. Yeah, it's that movie. It is what it is. I'll probably never watch it again, but it was fine to watch for one time.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, like of that era, is like most of those Sandler movies are ones I would watch once and never. Yeah. Like I think Grown Ups 2 is probably the last one where I will rewatch that probably once a year because it's so fucking dumb.
That was when
insane.
The Sandlerverse finally decided to just go into.
There's no plot. It is just them fucking around in what I like to call Sandlerville.
Yeah,
for an hour and a half.
There's no plot. There's no.
Hey, do you want to have a party tonight? The Jay Giles band.
There's no rules. Like the other thing about that is there's no rules.
Shaq killed a man.
Shaq threw a man over a house.
He threw a man over a house. Yeah,
and that's just normal in the world that they live in.
Oh my god!
They destroy a Kmart, and that's normal in the world that they live in.
Remember, like, there's part of that movie where they just hang out in Kmart for it, like working out and just like, it's insane. That movie's insane.
So it's crazy. And then the other movie I watched is I was in the mood for like a guy goes on a vengeance sale and beats the shit out of people. So I was scrolling through like Jason Statham stuff. So I was like, maybe I'll just watch The Beekeeper again. And then I saw like this other movie he was in, which I'd forgotten had existed, and it's from like last year, or 2 years ago.
I think it's last year.
Whatever.
I think it's last year. It's a Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, it's a Guy Ritchie movie, so you kind of know what you're getting when you turn it on. But it's Operation Fortune, and then it has a subtitle on it, whatever. And it's basically just like they work for the government and they have to steal this thing back from this billionaire guy. And I'll be honest, like, I don't really understand what the plot was that much because I'm not sure who the movie's for or what it's supposed to be. It's kind of tries to be funny because like Aubrey Plaza's in it and she's like the tech person on the team, but she acts like Aubrey Plaza. So it's out of place when you think that like they're this high powered tech team who can do everything, fly helicopters, drive cars, all this other stuff. Carrie Elways is like the team leader. Okay, I like Carrie Elways. Hugh Grant is the bad guy. Okay, I like Hugh Grant. Okay. Josh Hartnett is in it as like a TV star that they recruit to help them like get access to the bad guy. So like I like the people in it, and some of the dialogue is okay. I just didn't get it. I don't know if it's supposed to be. There's not enough action. There's not enough like Statham just kicking the shit out of guys. It happens a couple times, but it's not enough to the point where I would consider it to be like a Statham movie. It's not like Transporter or something. Well, as a matter of fact, when it was over, I was like, I probably should just watch Transporter. But I don't know. It's entirely forgettable. Again,
the one I was thinking of, Guy Ritchie. I was thinking of the other one he did recently called The Gentleman.
Yeah, I want to watch that one. That's on the list of me to watch.
That one's highly rated.
That one's on the list of me to watch. Kind of next now that I watch this to see if that's a better version of whatever this was.
Probably it's much higher rated. So
and especially because I watched that Jason Statham that Wrath of Man movie last year, and that movie's good because he just beats the shit out of people. That's all I want. But this one, it's like you get like two or three scenes, and it's hard. And coming off a Beekeeper, this was a fail. So it is what it is. I'll try to watch that Gentleman one, and then after that was done, I was like, I'm just gonna go watch Transporter again because
might as well.
That movie's badass.
That's pretty great.
But that's it.
Yeah, that's it. We really haven't. I'll say we've watched half of this season of The Boys. We got the other half of it to watch. It's fine. It's fine, but I can understand why people have the criticisms that they have of this season. And I'll also say, like, one thing our mutual friend Ross has brought up to me many times, but I will agree this season it's become egregious, is that show has a tendency to go a little bit hard on like toilet humor.
Oh,
where we're now at a point where it's like it's become like, all right, man, like we really are scraping the bottom of the barrel with that stuff. So not to get into what they do this season, but there's one thing in particular where I'm like, I get it, man. Let's get to the next thing. So but I'll say the stuff that they're doing, at least with Homelander, is very interesting. So hopefully it ends in a decent place. We're only going to get one more season, and I think that's perfect for that show. You don't want more than 5 seasons of The Boys, because you got to get to a point where, like, you have these two big characters on that show, right? You have Homelander. Even for you not watch the show, you know who Homelander is at this point.
Everything about the show, having not watched it.
And you have Butcher, which is, you know, the other character that's going after him. You're going to get to a point where one of these characters needs to die. And when that happens, the show's over. Because if you take either of those people off the show, there's no show. So, and I think, so that's why I think 5 seasons is perfect. Because we're starting to get to that point where, like, all right, we kind of need to wrap this story up. So, but yeah, well, I'll probably have that done by the next time we record. So I'll give some final thoughts on The Boys season 4. So, but we can kick off over to emails. We got a couple here we can go over. Our first one, in fact, it's funny because we talked about it earlier, but Nathan from Boise, Idaho. Hi, guys. What do you all think about IGN reporter? I can't remember her name, and I forgot it was in an email. What do you all think about IGN reporter Rebecca Valentine doubling down on her proven wrong report regarding the makers of Black Myth Wukong and their misogyny? Do you think she'll get any blowback from IGN, or just come back and pretend like nothing happened? She'll come back and pretend like
IGN won't blow back. Unless you do something in that company that directly hurts the company, like plagiarism, like the one guy did, that they can be responsible for.
I will say I find it absolutely hilarious, though, that she continues to cling to that, and then she has to watch from the sideline as they gave that game an 8 out of 10, and they're constantly talking high about it on
every other article for like that.
This game's
first day was
great.
Like, a lot of people are playing it. Here's some tips and tricks. Here's how to beat the first boss. Like, they have to put out all of this content around this game that she hates for an invalid reason.
For a reason that has been literally proven wrong many times and times over. But, like, the answer there is she'll come back after. There's no
pretend like it never happened. She'll pick the next hot button thing and move on. The next article, she'll write an article in a month about how Concord's failing, and she'll blame it on everything except the game. How about that?
Yeah, except for the fact that nobody bought it. Craig from Atlanta, Georgia. Howdy, dudes. Love the podcast. Just a simple question, really. Do you think we'll ever be able to get back to some sense of normalcy in video games? I miss being able to talk about upcoming game releases with any sense of optimism. At this point now, it becomes nothing but just culture war bullshit or games that release half-baked. Companies are just milking every single player's wallet dry. It just seems like it's so far beyond what it is that it can't come back. Is there any hope at all? I think you're seeing that right now. I think we're gonna have this period where a lot of big things are gonna fail. We're in the middle of that. We've seen Suicide Squad failed. I mean, I guess for lack of a better term, like Concord is a bigger thing. Like, they spent money on that. But that's failing.
But I think the argument to that is you're seeing stuff that is like being predicted to fail because of the content not failing. Mm-hmm. Stellar Blade didn't fail. Black Myth Wukong did not fail. And those are two games that were targeted early on as being, we need to get rid of these games.
We had the same thing happen last year with Hogwarts Legacy. Right. Remember, they tried everything they could to get people not to buy that, and that was the number one selling game last year. But I'll make this prediction too. Remember, we got to the Game Awards, it wasn't even mentioned. And I'm going to tell you right now, Black Myth Wukong's not going to be mentioned at the Game Awards either. They won't even talk about it.
I think there is some hope in terms of games coming back to normalcy as long as you are finally getting onto the page of we need to just kind of start ignoring games journalism. You need to start.
Yeah.
You need to start ignoring opinion pieces and these blogs and all this kind of stuff, and make your own decisions based off of the information that you have that can be verified.
I've said this before, and I'll keep saying this. Like, rather than look at the blogs and the internet, just go look on YouTube.
Right.
Most of the people that are doing this on YouTube, I mean, yeah, there are some people that will get codes and stuff for stuff. And I'm not talking, when I say YouTube, I'm not talking about the journal outlets that have YouTube channels either, like Kind of Funny and stuff like that. But you look at an average YouTuber and stuff, like they're going to be pretty fucking honest with their opinion on a game. So, that's what I usually do for reviews and stuff. And that's it. I'll say that I do that more than anything with movies. There's like 3 or 4 different channels now for movies that I'll watch. Like I have one dude, there's one dude that I watch pretty frequently, and I know because for the most part we're like neck and neck when it comes to horror movies, and I'll know if I watch a review, if that guy says it's crap, it probably actually is crap. So but I'll do that with movies a lot, and with games I think it's the same way. So I also think like you're gonna continue to see more and more indie games come out and continue to take over. And I kind of like when you're looking at for stuff that has the content, has like the value in it, that's not like, hey, buy this here's the $70 game, but you really want to buy the $130 version if you want everything. If you're talking about it from a value perspective that way. Plus also like look at what's going to happen in the next week. We're rounding the corner to the next big failure of the year, which is Star Wars Outlaws.
Right.
That's going to be
a game that they're all saying that you can't hate this game. You shouldn't hate this game. But the trends on it right now is that it's not going to be good.
Nobody's reserving
going to do well.
Yeah. So, and it's going to be very interesting to see, especially coming off of 10 million people buying Wukong, what this is going to be. But I think we'll eventually get there. But it's going to take a couple more high profile failures before you see a difference. And also, this isn't like, I look at this almost the same way as you see the movie industry right now. Like, look at how the movie industry is going. You're starting to get back to almost a sense of normalcy with movies. Look at a movie. The best example I give, look at Twisters. I don't know. Did you watch Twisters yet?
It's on the list of stuff I'm going to watch.
All right. Twisters is a movie that has no messaging in it whatsoever. It doesn't beat you over the head. Because, like, going into that movie, it was very easy for me to look at it and go, like, okay, this is going to be about global warming. They're going to beat you over the head with, like, nothing. And that just proves, like, now, like, we're starting to back away from that stuff because audiences don't want that. And that's why you see a ton of movies fail. And now we're starting to get these movies when you do stuff like that, like Twisters. Look at how successful it was. If Deadpool had not come out the weekend after, I think Twisters would have been one of the highest successes of the summer.
Sure.
Like even farther than it did. And the only reason it went and dropped off is because Deadpool.
Right.
You couldn't stop that movie.
No.
So, and I think you're going to see the same thing in games. The only difference is it takes a lot longer for a reset button with video games because a movie production, that's maybe 1 to 2 years. Video games, we're hitting like 6 to 8 years.
But but the thing is cracks are starting to show recently, like you said.
They are.
Suicide Squad is poised to destroy the gaming division of Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. It has like the Arkhamverse, as we know it, is over. Outside of one-off VR whatevers.
That's not going to sell because it's on MetaQuest.
But like the Arkhamverse is dead. Any hope of it's gone. Concord, that's gonna kill another studio for Sony. Look at what just happened with Bungie and Destiny. That thing imploded because they fucked up for a while, and live service stuff is starting to die, especially when you got to pay for some of it.
The one I'll be most interested to watch, because like we all know the Star Wars game is going to fail, but a lot of those same people like to predict that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to fail. That's the one I'm interested in watching because I still think even if you take the argument out of that for why people are upset, it's still an Assassin's Creed.
It's tough to say because Assassin's Creed stuff, it goes through the cycles.
Yeah. But I also think if there was one that is poised to fail at this point, it could be this one because this is now the 4th game they have made that is in this vein of, okay, it's an action open world RPG that's 250 hours long. Go do all this stuff, and like people are starting to get tired of that formula. So I hit my limit of that with Odyssey, where like Odyssey's a great game. I spent 150 hours. I did everything you could do in that game. But then when Valhalla came out, I was like, I'm not ready to do this. I'm still not ready. 3 years later, I'm still not ready.
Still not ready.
Yeah, where I'm still like, I don't need to do that right now. So, but yeah, I think you're going to get a couple more high profile games that don't necessarily need, but will fail for them to completely like turn the boat around and start doing some stuff. But again, 2024 has definitely been the year of failure in the game industry when it comes to we've seen so many high profile failures. But
that's what we need for the thing, for it to start being reset.
Agreed.
Stuff has to fail.
100%. 100%. I thought this was funny. We gotta read it. We only got one, I think. Yeah, we only got one redacted email this week, but this one you'll love. John from Redacted. Hi, Fav72 crew, love the podcast. I hate Black Myth Wukong. This in all caps. Not because it's a bad game. I'm sure it's just fine, but for the ever-loving fuck, I do not understand why they didn't just make a physical release of this game. My entire week has been dude bros left and right coming in and asking, yo, where that Wukong at? Only for me to tell them we don't have it and it is digital only. A lot of your average dude bros, they don't get what digital is, at least in the area I work. It's just been an extremely frustrating week. I can only imagine. Because that's I can picture, not with this game, but I can picture something else like that happening when we were at GameStop, where like, okay, this thing's only digital, but you're going to have all these people that want it come in and go, yo, you got this. No, it's digital only. I don't know what that means.
Well, and you're seeing it. Well, the thing about this digital only stuff is you're seeing it more and more, and you're seeing it work out for some of these companies. Like Alan Wake 2 was digital only. A year later, it gets a physical release because now it's worth it to try. Mm-hmm. And it's stuff.
I think there will be a Black Myth Wukong
eventually, yes, release. Because they're sold 10 million copies. So now they go, oh, there is a demand. We can make physical copies of this game, and we can profit off it next year. Look at what Alan Wake 2 did. I didn't buy it right away because it was digital. I told you. I was like, if it's digital only, I'll wait for a sale. And then I eventually waited long enough where they said, we're going to make physical copy. Okay,
but it's
now
cool
I'll buy
because you're getting everything.
Yes. So now I will happily buy a physical copy of Alan Wake 2. Mm-hmm. But then you give other kind of like smaller one-off games like that, like a Dragon game, Man Who Erased His Name. No physical copy. Not that people are coming to look for it, but Wukong was one of those things where they don't know. They had no clue what was going to happen.
Nobody had a clue that this game was going to sell 10 million copies in 3 days.
So I can imagine there being one eventually, but God, the people coming in asking for it, that's got to be a nightmare because people just don't get it.
No, they don't.
What do you mean you have to buy something digital on my console that's connected to the internet at all times? I don't understand that.
Don't understand.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, man. Next email we have comes from Lee from St. Cloud, Minnesota. Howdy, guys. I'm curious if you all have heard of this game called Dustborn being labeled as the most woke video game of all time, or if you've seen any footage of it. News actually just came out today that it's highly possible the developers used stolen assets from GTA Online in the game, as well as their scuttle surrounding the game that the UK government helped funded this game. It's been shoved around as a gigantic disaster on the same scale as Concord and Flintlock. I forgot about Flintlock.
I did too.
You remember that one?
Yeah, barely.
Nobody played
I know.
that game. That game's on Game Pass, and
I know.
So let's talk about Dustborn. What do you know about Dustborn?
I know.
Have you seen anything?
I know enough. I'm like, I see it come up from time to time online. I'm like, Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
I watched.
And like,
there's somebody I know on YouTube that bought and did I think they played streamed 7, 8 hours.
I know exactly the person you're talking about.
Okay. And I did not watch the stream as it happened, but I have seen clips of the game, and there's some baffling fucking things.
I laugh because I think after it was over, didn't they post something that's like, all right, well, I played 7 hours and I just can't take it anymore, kind of a thing or something.
Yeah. They did. Yeah. They posted a long review. I actually found the review on Steam because they posted their full review on Steam of all places, and it's pretty funny. But like, the couple clips I've seen the clip of the song that they sang, which is like one of the most cringe things you'll see in your life. I've seen, obviously, the big thing about that game is you're using your words as like a weapon, and so like, but a lot of it is like gaslighting and misinformation.
Oh man,
it is just like through. I'll give you an example of one of the scenes I saw. So like, it is, and it's important to say, like the woman that you're playing as is African American, and she goes into a diner, and there's these two cops, right? And that whole scene, I can't even describe to you how this happens because it's so fucking ridiculous. But like, they're in a conversation, and obviously the cops do what you expect cops to do, and they do some stuff, but somehow through the misinformation you can throw in the game, it turns into a situation where the two cops turn against each other and get so mad that they fucking shoot each other.
What?
And it's just like, what is happening? Like, I literally watched, and this is like a 3-minute clip of this game. It's fucking wild. Obviously the player count for this game has been terrible too. I think the concurrent player count was like, I think it hit a maximum of like 75 people.
Oh no.
Because that's been the argument this week of like, we keep hearing this phrase, the modern audience. Okay, where's the modern audience? Why is the modern audience not showing up? They've shown up. The answer is they have shown up. Your audience level is 72 people or whatever. Like there's your modern audience, but it's not a good game. As far as the assets, I saw that floating around today. I don't know if that's true or not. It like, when you look at the pictures out there, it's questionable.
It could be one of those things where people are just making that up to get the game in more trouble than.
I do know the UK government thing. They did have that is true. They did have some sort of hand in paying for development of the game part.
Well, hey man, the state of Rhode Island helped make Kingdoms of Amalur. So I mean, what do you do?
hey man,
who knows what that stuff actually means?
But yeah, it's that game is a disaster. So, but like Flintlock, the funny thing about Flintlock is I was vaguely interested in that game until it came out, and then I saw like nobody played it, and it was just the reviews were bad. And they said the combat was bad, and I was like, all right, I'm out on that. So, because that's the thing, I'll throw out there again, like when we get into this territory of Sweet Baby and the DEI stuff, like my game of the year last year was Alan Wake 2.
Right.
Sweet Baby Incorporated worked on that game. I know exactly what they did in that game and what character they worked with.
Doesn't matter. I really liked Spider-Man 2, and I know exactly what they did in that game as well. So whatever. Yeah,
and I will argue I don't think the story of Spider-Man 2 is as good as the first one.
I really like the game, but specifically the one mission they clearly didn't bother me in the slightest.
No.
And there was another mission that they clearly did that I thought was one of the best missions in the entire game.
Yeah.
So this stuff, like, we're not going to go into it, but like this stuff that they're doing and all this stuff, like people act like it's fucking end of the world level stuff that they've even touched the game. It's not. Some of it is important. Like the Spider-Man 2 mission, it's the museum one. You and I both agree. That's one of the most interesting parts of that thing because it builds on his character, gives the whole neighborhood aspect of him backstory, and it's just like an interesting thing that happened in the game. It would not have existed had those people not helped. I guarantee you.
No, I don't think it would have.
Cool.
And part of that was just getting that correct.
Yeah, well, because I think the important thing about that mission
look at the people that make that game. Right. They're not from that kind of background.
No, but I think it's also important to note that like that mission didn't seem forced. It didn't seem pushed upon me in any way. Where some of these other games, some of that stuff does seem pretty forced.
Yeah, that's always the argument that I look at, and it's very simple, but as long as it's not being forced upon you, it's just part of the story. And in that case, I think it helped that character.
Yes.
Help flesh out the character of Miles Morales a little bit more. So didn't bother me. But the difference is you're taking one aspect of a game and injecting that into it, and that's fine. This is an entire game built around that.
And that's not going to work. A little heavy. Being heavy-handed with this stuff is not going to help your cause.
Yeah, like that's not going to work. I could have told you that from the get-go. Like, maybe that's not the best idea. So, But yeah, no, as far as like, I'll never play the game. I don't care about that.
No.
But I saw those clips going around. I was like, this is ridiculous. So I was like, there was one that I think I almost spit out what I was drinking. I laughed so hard at it because it was absurd. So, but no, I'm not interested. Next email we have comes to us from Casey from Greenwood, Indiana. Hi, dudes. Always love when you talk about movies. Was curious if you're planning on seeing any of the big fall releases and reviewing them. If so, what ones are you looking forward to? Thanks. So this was done by complete accident. One of the days last week, I opened up Facebook on my phone and I got an ad that was like, see Beetlejuice 2 days early. And I was like, okay. And sometimes you click on those things just to see what's going on. And a lot of times when they'll do those kind of shows, you have to go to specific like big theaters. Like, okay, I live near the city of Chicago. It's probably going to be in the city. Right. I'm not going to drive to Navy Pier to see Beetlejuice. Well,
that was like me when they were like, we're going to show all these Spider-Mans every week. And I'm like, I'd be down to go see half of these. Yeah. Oh, I got to drive an hour? No, fuck no.
The only time they did that, and I wish I would have gone, was the Alien thing in April. I wish I would have gone to the theater by me, but I didn't. But anyways, so I opened it up. I looked at it. I'm like, whatever. Let's see what this is about. So they're showing the movie Wednesday. So 2 days before it comes out. It's like 7 o'clock show. Oh, the theater near me is actually doing it. I was like, really? And so I like went to the app or whatever, opened up, and like it's like half at this point. It's like half sold because I'm not surprised. And that's why I asked my girlfriend, like, do you want to do this? Like, we could literally see this movie 2 days early for whatever. It's the same price. Like, it's not an extra cost. And we just were like, yeah. So I'm going to see that 2 days early, which is cool. I'm excited about that. I'm the target audience for a Beetlejuice sequel. So Beetlejuice 100% is a movie that I will be reviewing and seeing. As far as other like big movies, and that's what we were talking about before, like what are the
I don't even know what they
are. At least for me, yeah, there's a lot of like what ifs. I mean, there's no Marvel movie this fall, is there? It's
Captain
not until February.
Next,
yeah, which we'll see Captain America. I'm excited about that.
But pumped for that. But
Nosferatu, but that's not until Christmas, which saddens me. I wish they'd push it up. That is one for sure I will go see. I'm going to be the guy. I told her, I'm going to be the guy where I'm going to go Christmas Day.
Oh.
I don't care. I have not been to a movie Christmas Day since Mask of the Phantasm.
I don't know if I have.
Where it was just,
you know what?
My dad
I know a movie I saw on Christmas Day. Sherlock Holmes.
There you go.
I saw that. All right. I've got it.
No.
All right. So I went to IMDb. I pulled up a coming soon thing. So let's just kind of throw stuff out there. So there's the Beetlejuice, obviously. Yep. There's that Front Room, which is that A24 movie with Brandy. Have you seen that one?
I will tell you anything that's like that or like the Hugh Grant one, Heretic. Yeah. I will watch when it's on streaming. Right. I'm not gonna like when it's up digitally. I'll get it and watch it. I'm not gonna go to the theater.
I wouldn't see that.
But I want to see Heretic because that looks fucking
There's that Transformers
ridiculous.
One.
I'll watch that one.
Yeah, that's a streaming movie. I'm just kind of like scrolling through this stuff to see if anything.
And that's the other thing too that I want to point out is like a lot of these movies are going to hit digital 2 weeks.
You got your boy
after.
You know your boy, Joker.
Oh yeah, that's the other big movie. I will be going to see Joker 100%.
I am interested in that Saturday night movie.
I'm interested in that.
I'll wait for streaming, but I am interested to watch that.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Is that movie a theater movie?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is it
I thought it was both.
I saw the trailer and I thought it looked fantastic.
Yeah, it looks really. I'm very interested to see that.
I will say before I watch the trailer, it's like I don't know if this is going to work because I know who all these people are. Right. As someone who grew up watching classic SNL, the
trailer's very good.
They actually work. Yeah. So, very interesting.
Here's one I do have to see somehow. Venom. I'll probably go with my friend.
Well, we have Venom, and then we also have the other one, Craven.
That's December, I think, right?
December 6th or 5th or something like that.
I'll probably go see that with my buddy, just because we go see all that awful shit.
Fucking Craven.
Gladiator 2 is something where it's like streaming. I would watch that, I think, but I don't need to see it in theaters.
I will tell you, Gladiator 2 comes out Thanksgiving week, and I am actually off that entire week, and that's one of those movies where like, if I can slip out during the week because Thanksgiving is the one holiday a year we host here, but that is a movie where like if I can slip out and go see it, I might just because I kind of want to see it. It's got Denzel.
Yeah, which is why I was streaming happily. I'll watch it.
And I thought that the part in the trailer when they filled the arena with water seemed fucking ridiculous in a way where like I would watch that. So
Moana 2 I will watch with my kids.
I will say realistically, I will probably be dragged to the theater to see Moana 2.
Hey, the first one's a great movie, so the second one's probably
it is. I didn't. Yeah. So I'm okay with that.
What else we got? Oh, Sonic 3, just at the end of the year.
I need to watch Sonic 2. I have not seen Sonic 2.
Still pretty good.
Yet. Okay.
Then you got your Nosferatu.
Jim Carrey in that?
Yeah, he's the new one? I think that they managed to get him back for that too, didn't they?
Okay.
I know Keanu Reeves is in it.
Who is he playing
Shadow,
again?
dude.
That's right.
Like Keanu Reeves is Shadow?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Idris Elba is Knuckles.
I need to watch that Knuckles TV show, even though I heard it wasn't great.
I heard it was good.
No, I heard it wasn't great, but I need to watch it. But yeah, Jim Carrey, they got him back. That's all that matters. That's kind of it for the end of this year. Like,
is there anything spooky season?
There was I thought there was like one or two. There's that Y2K movie which comes out at the end of the year.
That doesn't. Okay,
but it's got.
Did you see the trailer for that?
I watched a little bit of it, and before I was like, "Oh, this looks dumb as fuck." Okay. Smile 2.
It looks. Smile 2, I think, is an interesting premise to take a sequel. Right. That's another one I'll watch on streaming, but I would like to see.
Oh, there's that Mark Wahlberg movie in the plane, Flight Risk. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No, that's
you need to watch a trailer for that.
I'll watch it later. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
It's got Topher Grace in it. I know you're excited.
All right, I'm looking at.
You want to talk about
now.
Venom? Topher Grace.
There you go. I'll throw out some other ones here that look interesting, but these are ones that I would probably watch streaming. I would like to see the Ronald Reagan movie.
Oh, yeah.
I'll watch it. This other one, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this. This fucked my mind. We went and saw Alien. They put this trailer. This movie called 1992. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's got Tyrese in it. Tyrese Gibson.
Oh, I did see a trailer because it has Ray Liotta.
Okay, and that's what fucked my mind.
I was like,
we went to go see Alien.
He died.
And I looked at Ross and I'm like, he's dead. What is happening? It must be his last.
I saw the trailer. When did I see the trailer for this? Like, it had to be a couple days ago, and I was like, I thought he died.
Apparently, it was filmed in 2022.
So I was very confused about that.
It looks okay. That movie looks all right. So I would like to see that when it's up. Obviously, Beetlejuice. Another one that I think looks really interesting. Unfortunately, I know the twist because it's a remake of a foreign movie. I know you saw the trailer for this. It comes out in September. It's got James McAvoy. Speak No Evil. Oh yeah. Because I know what the twist of it is, and he's going to be unhinged in it, and he's very good at playing an unhinged.
He is. He was the reasons I thought Split was any good is because he's crazy as fuck.
I agree with you there. As someone who, when I found out what the end of that movie was, I was so pissed. But I will maintain that first hour of that movie is fucking great.
He's great in it,
and it's all him. Yeah. So, out of just sheer curiosity, I would never go to the theater because I'm sure this can be like 3 hours long. But I would like to see this Francis Ford Coppola Megalopolis movie because it just sounds insane.
I don't know if I could sit through that.
I couldn't sit in the theater for that though. Joker, obviously, that's probably my other most anticipated movie. Just gotta see him sing, man.
He's gonna sing for like an hour in that fucking movie.
That's the most curious aspect of that movie is how is that going to work? So, but people are digging that trailer, especially that new one. So I'm looking to see it. Like I'm looking at November stuff and I'm like,
nothing jumped.
I thought there was one other thing.
Super jumps out.
I'll tell you a movie I'm not going to see, and maybe you'll see it because sometimes we subject you to the bad ones, or like I need
better
to
not say the one I think you're going to say.
Red one.
Oh, I might watch that. It's got Chris Evans, Lucy Liu, and J.K. Simmons. So, I mean,
Heretic comes out the same day, so that's the Hugh Grant one. I want to see that because it just looks wild for him to be in that kind of movie. No interest in Wicked, which I'll remind is part 1 of 2.
No thanks.
I think
I saw the trailer for that and just went, no.
I've seen too many trailers for that. Y2K. Okay, so I watched the trailer for that. I think it's stupid as hell. It doesn't feel like the 90s at all. And to turn that into a horror comedy thing where it actually happened, like who is it for? Who is that movie actually for?
To be like people our age who lived through it.
But I think it looks dope. The other one that I will say I am on the fence on, and my girlfriend is the same way because I made her watch the trailer, is this animated Lord of the Rings thing.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw the trailer came out.
didn't see it.
It's animated. Okay, and I know you don't give a shit about Lord of the Rings, but it is an anime movie. So it has a famous Japanese director, and then Peter Jackson is behind it. And the whole reason this movie is being made is to fire back at Amazon and their shitty Rings of Power show, which people hate. The trailer for this looked okay. And it has like the animation I would describe is like the level of animation like the Castlevania Netflix show. It looks good, but there's one element of it I'm like on the fence of like they could go a direction that makes it bad. So we'll see. But yeah, that kind of like I'm just looking at the year. I'm looking at like around Christmas, like Nosferatu. I'm super excited about, but there's nothing else. It's not even like. I guess the other big one, not a movie I would go pay money to see, is Mufasa. I just think that was terrible.
No, not interested.
Like did your kids watch the live action remake?
No, they're not interested in the live action versions and stuff.
Okay. I think that's the thing. I think it's a lot of kids don't give a fuck.
No,
it's just people are
trying to get it for people our age. Yeah,
yeah. Where it's just like a lot of us now are checked out on that. So they've done too many of them. But yeah, that kind of covers it. I mean, biggest ones like Beetlejuice, Joker 2, maybe Gladiator, Nosferatu. Everything else will probably be when it's up on streaming, which at this point is usually like 2 weeks later. I will tell you, by the next time we record, and I know you're going to watch it because I'll get it, one of us will probably be able to talk about Borderlands.
I'll watch it.
I know
I'll watch it.
I was gonna say, I know Dan will watch it. Yeah, I don't know if I will. I don't
blame you if you don't.
I know you will.
But I will.
I know you'll watch it because I will say the other one that we will talk about because they both come out this next week. Trap.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it.
I will watch Trap. So I do not know what the twist of Trap.
I don't either.
I somehow avoided the spoilers. Yeah. I've heard some people say it's fine. I've heard other people say it's crap. So.
I've heard it's bad, to be fair. But okay. I like Josh Hartnett a lot.
I like Josh Hartnett.
I'll watch it.
I like the idea. Shyamalan's so good of ideas. Yes. He just can never fall through. Our final email comes to us from Tom from Rock Hill, North Carolina. Hey, 572 crew, longtime listener, first time I've written in. I'm starting to get into retro game collecting more, and I know you've been asked this in the past, but I'm going to ask anyways. What would you say today is the best console to start collecting for? What would you say I should avoid? For reference, right now, I simply own a PS5, PS4 Pro, PS2, a Series X, Xbox One S, and a few 360s. I feel like a lot of people own a few 360s.
Yeah, you kind of had to.
Also a Nintendo Switch. Everything earlier than that, I simply don't have. Thanks. I would say right now, I actually saw this the other day, and I was like, that's actually smart. Like 360 stuff, it is starting to go up.
Right.
But I still think 360 is a good place to start. But also, PS4 and Xbox One stuff.
I think PS4 is a good one to start collecting now too. It depends on what kind of stuff you're into. If you want to start collecting like the RPGs and stuff that were on there that are like the weird things, you're going to need to start getting them now. Mm-hmm. Just because towards the end of that system, they didn't make as many copies of things, and you just really had to start. You had to buy it when it came out. It became almost impossible to find. I think that's an era that I'm kind of into now too. Like PS4 is just trying to pick up stuff from that era that I want to have a physical copy of for the future. Mm-hmm. Even though 90% of PS4 stuff is available digitally, there's stuff you still want to get.
And a lot of times I'll say too, like that's a situation where like I might pick up something physically at some point, like, oh, they're fire sailing this on Amazon for $10 and it's sealed. Yeah. And then it comes up for $2 digitally, and I'll buy it digitally and just play it digitally.
I like that. We've talked about it before. I like the aesthetic of the shelf for collecting. Yeah. If you're looking into getting stuff you don't have, I think Super Nintendo. Like if you want to go cartridge based, Super Nintendo stuff you can still find a decent amount. 64 you can still find a decent amount, and the stuff you care about.
If you're a fan of that era,
you can. And the thing about 64, there's so many copies available of the stuff you care about. The only downside to 64 collecting is if you want a complete set, some of those games are bullshit because you have to find copies of stuff that were only released at Blockbuster.
Blockbuster only.
PS2 is another one that's good to get in on now as much as you can, because the stuff
or original Xbox.
Yeah.
I actually didn't realize until the other day some video I was watching, but like some of those games that were backwards compatible or are backwards compatible, like for Series X, are now disc only. Like the digital versions have been removed.
Oh, so you have to have the disc.
So like, gosh, what's the game I'm thinking of? Breakdown.
They removed the digital version of that?
Yeah,
wow.
You can only use the disc now. That was one, and there was another one in the same video. I wanted, maybe it's not. I want to say it was the Indiana Jones game.
Oh, that I believe.
The Emperor's Tomb.
I believe there's probably some weird rights thing with that.
So, which ironically, I was like watching it. I'm like, do I have? I do have this.
But,
so.
Yeah, it seems weird to think that like 360 is retro and even PS4 is starting to feel
but
like
then you
that.
Remember, it's almost 20 years ago.
It's time to start getting that stuff if you want to get that stuff. But if you're looking for stuff that you don't have, I would say 64 is easy to collect for, just because there was a ton of it, and it's always on. People are always selling it, especially on eBay. Pricing and stuff is going to be a little weird, but the stuff you want, you can find, and you'll pay $40 for a piece, and that's okay.
Well, the things I would avoid, like at this point, I hate to say it, but like Dreamcast, it's kind of hard to get into now.
Blown up. GameCube is getting very bad.
Cube is bad. Also, like the one that I would want to dive in hard of the most would be PS1, and that's
getting really bad too. PS2 is at least somewhat manageable. Some of the PS2 like the horror PS2, the horror PS2 stuff is expensive, but it's always been expensive. So it's not like that's a new thing.
Yeah, like the Rule of Rose,
Silent Hill,
and like
Haunted Ground, that's always been expensive.
They've always been expensive. They've only gone up in price, but they've always been expensive.
But and another one, like I don't think he mentioned he has one, but if you want to even consider getting PS3 stuff, get it now. That's going to get
I'd
bad
say that too.
Eventually. Like I've got back into that where I'm picking up the PS3 stuff that I really want to get, like that Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions game, and we remember my odyssey to get Biggs 2 was almost impossible. And it's not even like it's a game people care about, but I don't think there's a lot of PS3 stuff out there compared to 360 stuff.
For me, 360, it was that Wet game.
Yeah,
it was insane,
a game that shouldn't be hard to find.
Randomly, Matt found it down by him and sent it to me. Yeah, and again, a lot of that stuff when you get to like the 360 PS3 era, it's not necessarily that it's expensive. Mm-hmm. It's just hard to find.
and that's the weirdest part about that stuff, is it shouldn't be hard to find, but it is.
No, it shouldn't be.
Yeah. But those are
good places to start.
In terms of like stuff you have, if you want to get stuff that you don't have, a 64 is a good one to collect for, because again, there's not even that many games for the 64, so you could get a bunch. I always say Super Nintendo just because it's my favorite, and you can still get deals on Super Nintendo games at $15-$30 for stuff that is good, and even stuff that's like Mario RPG isn't insane. Like that game is like $60 to $70. That game could easily
you probably will pay the same price you will for the Switch version.
But in theory, that game should be a hell of a lot more. You would think it would be $120 or whatever.
I would think it would be too, because it's such a weird thing if you think about it. It was a Square,
and it's popular, and it's good. But those are all. There's a lot of good places to start. I would say don't bother getting into handhelds, because you're going to run into lots of fake shit with handhelds.
So for sure.
If that's not something you're into already, don't bother getting into it.
And then I would say when you get in, like I said, PS1 is like almost impossible to get into right now. Dreamcast, like I said, I wouldn't have said that until the last MGC we went to, where it was like nobody had it.
Yeah.
And when you did see something that was Dreamcast, it was astronomically expensive. So I didn't realize how much that stuff started.
Somebody was probably going around scooping up everything, my guess.
That's what I think. So, but I wouldn't even bother with that. So, but yeah, I think I still say 360. It is starting to go up though. Mm-hmm. That was
now that the store's off.
Now is you're definitely going to see some things that are jumped up in price. Like I can't remember what I told you it was. All of a sudden, because that store shut down, it jumped up like $100. Something I had for 360.
I forget.
And all of a sudden, I was like, it's like it went up like $100. I was like, oh well, that makes sense. The store's gone. So. But yeah, so you'll see some fallout from that for sure. But and then even if you get to the PS4, Xbox One generation, like whatever one you prefer there, like it's worth collecting for that right now too, because especially now you have a ton of people that are offloading that shit because they want to buy PS5s, or maybe a Series X, I guess. I don't know. But I think that's where I would start. So, but anyways, as always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.